ensemble. C'est les mains, en amour, c'est possible. Serrer les mains en avant, tous ensemble. Africa unite. Together as one.
A very warm welcome everybody to the platform, to the conference of this year. Welcome.
بحضنها بالدارينا وكلوا كلوا ست كورة في الفيلي شكا سلو الفدان وكلوا ولي Together we stand if we live in peace and harmony. Africa unite.
We stand for Africa.
Okay, Sam, you can now click it off. I think we are 1 minute past time. Let's kindly mute in the background. Let's kindly mute.
The meeting is being recorded.
Join meeting.
Yeah, join meeting. Press it.
Make sure you stay
Try to off it, then we start officially. Yeah, so first I want to welcome everybody to the conference. I know we are still working on getting a way to make it live on YouTube. But meanwhile, for our attendees who have joined already, we thank you so much for keeping on time and joining us earlier now. This is one of the most important meetings here for not just ADI, but the entire diaspora across the globe who are interested in seeing Africa adjust and also make sure they're able to keep stepping towards embracing technology, not just in one end approach, but across different sectors. I want to welcome everybody to this session. As we take time, we always first begin our meetings or any of our events with our official African Union anthem. So I'll give it a chance for our technical team to share with us the African Union anthem. Amen. Yeah, so let's go. Let's go. I don't know. Sam, you can go ahead and try that.
Let us all unite and celebrate together the victories won for our liberation. Let us dedicate ourselves to rise together to defend our liberty and unity. All sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa a tree of life. Let us all unite and sing together to uphold the bonds that frame our destiny. Let us dedicate ourselves to fight together for lasting peace and justice on earth. All sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make
conference. Because
Best we have to Africa, the cradle of mankind, the fount of culture, iron of a break of dawn. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky. Africa, country of love.
Before has no free. That's why I register.
All right, thank you so much for that. Please kindly mute. You need to
The conference is on.
Joseph,
Yeah.
kindly.
Nah.
Joseph.
International.
Sorry, Chair, if you could unmute everyone, it's possible also from your end. Just mute people.
Anissa, kindly help out. Anissa, kindly help out, please.
But I have one who certificate. I don't have who certificate.
Anissa, kindly help out.
Correct, yeah? Ah.
Our host.
You could make other people co-hosts so that we mute these people. We can assist.
Response to the man is Zambia, man Uganda, Ancha, Makano, na WhatsApp group. Come on, talk, Kale. Okay, bro, kata. I'm going to put him up. New papa.
Hi, Joseph. Kindly mute. I'm so sorry. Just give me 1 minute.
Okay, who got Anka?
Joseph, please mute. Joseph, please mute.
I just want a certificate of participation.
Hello, Victor. You can mute them from your end as the host.
Yeah,
You can
that's
mute them as the
we
host.
can be made co-hosts so that we mute.
Anissa, you are. And we are looking into institutionalization of digital addiction in Africa. And I know a lot of us have taken time to go through the schedule as it was planned. We have quite a number of speakers across the continent who are going to be joining us today through presentation, through panel discussion, through e-fireside chat and all that. And I hope that through the sessions, we are going to get away to carry knowledge, carry some experiences that you can take back to wherever country you are from. So without going much into introduction, I just want to take time to acknowledge people from different parts of the continent. It's very important for us because this is a continental forum. And I want to welcome people from across different parts of Africa. I'll start with the southern part of the continent. I just want one person to say hi. And from there, we're going to be beginning our presentation on just an intro on how the conference will be like. So I'm going to start with anyone from the southern part of Africa. Anyone from the southern part of Africa? Okay, anyone from the southern part of Africa? Jacqueline, are you there? Can I say hi? Yeah, because I'm only introducing those who I know from the southern part of Africa. I don't know if Jacqueline is there. Jonas Yalumano from Zambia. I don't know if you can say hi. Okay, let's go to the eastern part of the continent. Let me go to Ethiopia. I don't know if Mr. Dawit can say hi. Because it's people from Please go ahead, say yes.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
You are listening now?
Yeah, we can get you, please.
Okay. Yeah, I am Dait Wami from Ethiopia. I'm serving as a lecturer and a researcher at Asusa University, Ethiopia. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. The western part of the continent, Nigeria or Ghana or Gambia. Can I take Chidu maybe Ngozi from Nigeria? Please say hi, because I know those names are from eastern part of the continent.
Hi, good afternoon. Chid, maybe I'll go your voice here. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good afternoon. So I feel like we are having people from different parts of Africa, and it's very necessary for us to get to know each other. So I'll ask everybody kindly to be chatting on the chat box. You can be sharing your name, your country, and your interest for this session today. And it's going to help us at least to get to know. So in the chat box, kindly just state your name, your country, and also all that you engage into. So it's very important for us just to engage on that. Yeah, so without much, I want to take time to present to you about this summit or this conference, sorry. Yeah, this conference. And it's going to give us a way to understand how we are going to be engaging all through the conference, and also some of the key areas that we need to take into consideration while we still learn together and get to move. So the first thing is that kindly mute. So welcome to the Africa Edition Conference 2024. So this conference is a virtual one, as you can see, we are in Zoom. The key organizers of this conference were Africa Digital Inclusion Alliance, Global Research Network, and also Inotech Ideation Hub. So Africa Digital Inclusion Alliance is a continental alliance. It's going to look at different countries in the continent. Global Research Network is I think I'm going to give Anissa to explain more about it, but Inotech Ideation Hub is led by Al-Bashir from Nigeria. So I think one is going to be explaining more about the hub. But entirely, the theme of this conference is to stepping toward institutionalization of digital inclusion in Africa. And I know that the scheme might not very clear to everybody, but just have to contend with the situation now. So we know that inclusion comes from diversity. And we know that for this conference, our priority is that how can we ask questions that can able to use inclusion to tap into the diversity of Africa? So we say that through this conference is that Africa's digital future is meeting its diversity, because this is the most diverse continent in the world. We have over 2,000 languages, diverse cultures, diverse economic systems, political structures. Everything is almost diverse. And now that we are getting time to be in this conference is to give us an idea, how can you leverage technology as an asset, yeah? Probably defined in the context of our diversity. So the best asset we can always feel we have as inclusion or digital inclusion practitioner is our diversity. Yeah. So I welcome you to this conference where every sector is accommodated. We accommodate today, tomorrow, and even in the future. So I just want to charge you up for this session that every time and again, if you are here, kindly make sure that you have something that you can note down and hear from our amazing speakers. So Africa Digital Inclusion Alliance is a Pan-African driven organization. We are acting to overcome the digital divide in Africa by promoting and advancing digital equity. So digital equity is more of a centralized or a more of a communal-based approach to digital technology work. So for example, if you're in Nigeria, Anambra State, somewhere in the locality, there's uniqueness in that community that stand out, that only they can only relate with technology. There's uniqueness in Lagos or somewhere in Malawi that are like built there. So I just want us to know that we are here to promote digital equity through actions that are like divided in different cadres. We have also projects and kind of events, such like Africa Digital Inclusion Conference, which is here. So just be ready to get to know more about our work. So we are bringing different professionals together, practitioners, influencers in this area, yeah, from all key areas of digital inclusion, which means we have skill development as a very foundational component of digital inclusion. We have the issue of device access. How do we promote this? Because digital inclusion means that you have a skill, there's a device also accessed, there's policy issues that are like regulating the whole framework of the whole ecosystem of this work. Then there's the marginalized group communities who are like people with disability, refugees, and even prisoners. These are people who are very important. And we feel like for digital inclusion to come to its full phase, they have to be there as priority areas. We also address the issue of digital infrastructure and technical support. We understand the gap that is in Africa about the digital infrastructure. And in this conference, we get a way to bring this content out and able to understand. We also have a multi-sectoral approach to our discussion here in this conference, from the digital health, digital governance, digital agriculture, digital education, digital business, and etc. So this is going to just give us a playground whereby as much as you have the skill, you have the device, you have the internet, you have the policies that are there, how are they really contributing to the value point of our economies from the digital governance, digital agriculture, and all these sectors? So I want us, as much as we are going to stand in different points of our experiences, our knowledge, what we know, it is going to be very important for us to also feel connected to other key sectors like digital education. Yeah, the skills are going to be very important, but as much as they're going to be contributing to other sectors, because our life is not a one thing in one place. So there are people who are in the health sector, in the education sector, in the agricultural sector. How are they marrying digital inclusion into their real life application? So it is all about inclusion and equity. Those are going to be the major terms everybody's going to be keep calling, keep talking, keep reminding us, so that we're able to move in that direction. So just be ready for us to step into institutionalization of digital inclusion in Africa, which means we are going to talk about the skills, the digital skills, the digital devices, the internet access, the technical support component, because as much as we can have these devices every time and again, but these things are being broken down, they're going into wastage and all that. How can we create an ecosystem of consistent provision of technical support, which is going to be very critical? We're also going to look at the policies frameworks that are at the continent, which are in data protection, digital sovereignty, digital like more of an awareness about security, very critical areas that are affecting us at personal level, affecting us at professional, business, or even at a governance level, for example, Kenya or Nigeria or any country. So feel part of this. So our goal is to make sure that Africa is able to adopt a one-end approach to digital technology. So if you go to a village somewhere where there's no internet or there's no electricity, as a digital inclusion practitioner or somebody who has an experience, what can you transfer as a knowledge that can be start ground towards them advancing and moving towards digital equity? So key objective is one, we're going to have some call to actions call to action means that is something that's going to be from your end. I cannot give you a specific one, but now from hearing the people talk, from the sharing, also get a way to collaborate and network. As we know that this conference is bringing people from across different parts of Africa. I know there's somebody from South Africa, Northern Africa, Egypt, somebody from Morocco, somebody from Nigeria, somebody from Uganda, somebody from Malawi, Ethiopia, Kenya, somebody from Ghana. All these people, when we come together today, please we can collaborate through knowledge sharing, through exchange of even opportunities, and even committing to standing strongly in addressing other key priority areas. So also prepare to learn and relearn, especially in the approach to digital inclusion is very important, because sometimes we hold into so much of our knowledge that this got us to happen in our society. People have to have this so that they're able to do that. But now with digital inclusion and equity, it places everybody at a point of equal in terms of, like, somebody can be, he doesn't even know any skills, anything, but when you talk digital inclusion, he feels part of it, even if he's not really much into awareness about everything. So there's also going to be personalized and common approach to digital inclusion action. You can look your community and know how best to serve it with digital inclusion related activities. Me here also can look at my community and know how to serve it better. But at the end of the day, there has to be a common approach that we can all develop towards making sure that we are going to be moving in a good way. Also, the personalized and common approach to digital inclusion is there. Then also formation of multi-sectoral and cross-sectional digital inclusion common interest, which means multi-sectoral, which means across major sectors like education, health, agriculture, business, all that. But now there's cross-sectional part of it is going to be cutting across the issue of skills, the devices, the internet, the technical support, the policies. These are things that is affecting everybody. Everybody has to get to know about them. But now the multi-sector part of it is also going to be brought out clearly. So this is some of the key objectives I just want to share with us. Let's be advocates. Let us be ready to build. Let us become the ambassadors of digital inclusion, which means after this conference, you are going to develop a strong conviction in your heart and in your mind that you can be an ambassador of digital inclusion. Because this has been a topic that people have been really fear so much to bring into play, especially in Africa, because we feel like we cannot bring inclusion when we have a lot of diversity, a lot of differences in between our communities, differences in our approach, different strategies and development in our countries in terms of digital initiatives. Yeah, but now there's a common thing. Digital inclusion brings everyone and everyone on board. So let's just be ready to become ambassadors, and then we partner through actions that can be defined based on the lens of our community and based on the lens of us. So that is what I have today. Just going to give you a brief of how this conference is going to run through. And I want to take this moment to welcome you officially again as the founder. Yeah, I can call myself the CEO or the founder of this organization. But I know that we are going to still learn more, because I'm not just the founder, but that is just a title. Yeah, I'm open to learning and getting to know more about how we can strengthen this work, how we can make it better, and how we can stand together towards strengthening and pushing this to a high level. So I welcome everybody to the Africa Digital Inclusion Alliance. So if you have any question, any comment, I'm seeing a lot of introductions still going on in the chat box section. Yeah. And I have to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for the great introduction. I can see Kaladi Esther from Uganda, Levis from Kenya, Madaraka from Tanzania, Julius from Nigeria, Ebiratu from Ethiopia, Loti from Uganda, from Zambia, and all these other people. We love you. We really feel part of this. A very good inclusion because it brings everybody together. Anyway, without so much talk, I want to, if there's any comment or question, please feel free to chat it on the box regarding the conference. So it is already 15:30. Yeah, I need to bring the first panel of our session, which is going to be a welcoming plenary. I don't know if I have Al Bashir already here. We are here with Al Bashir is already joining us the call. Anissa is already here. I think I'm going to just welcome them officially. And we were to have the former vice president of Liberia, who is currently in Ghana for a conference now. Yeah. And we had a call today in the morning. She told me that she's going to be presenting at the same time she was to be here. So we are just going to go direct to the welcoming plenary session. And I want to just welcome our first speakers. If you have any queries, kindly feel free to chat with them. We are just going to take a very few minutes just to share about our journey of digital inclusion has been and why institutionalization of digital inclusion in Africa. So I'm going to welcome our first speaker. I don't know if I need to read the bio because the bio is too long. I'm just going to give her opportunity to introduce herself better. And from there, we're going to continue. So I'm going to first welcome Anissa Abetia. Yeah. Now, if you're able to introduce yourself and just get to know you better, yeah, for our team to know you. Please go ahead.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Anissa Baitia, and I'm the Policy Fellow for Digital Equity and Innovation for the Global Research Network. I am also the project lead for the Africa Digital Equity and Innovation Project. I'm based in the US, and the URN is based in Canterbury. Our main focus is providing scholars in the Global South mentorship, and what we really seek to do is, through our Africa Digital Equity Project, is to provide digital equity practitioners and scholars a platform to generate research and find pathways and systems that will support a Africa created agenda for what digital equity should look like.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I remember when I started the digital inclusion, the digital equity specifically work, NISA formed the Africa Digital Inclusion Working Group that has been really exceptional in terms of creating awareness, training, and building fellows who are also able to acquire some knowledge. And also they have done a lot of research. In fact, today we are going to have one of the presenters from the Africa Digital Equity Fellowship that took place. So thank you so much, Anissa, for the good work, for the support that you've been giving around, through the knowledge, through everything, yeah, because even you hosted us and all this. So we are really grateful for the work that you've been committing towards seeing Africa advance to this concept that is so much new to most of our practitioners in the space. But we know that by time it's going to be one of the most common term, because Africa is going to receive this a very, very relevant term, yeah. So thank you so much. Let me welcome Al-Bashir. Please, Al-Bashir, go ahead and introduce yourself. Just get to know you better. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Good afternoon, good evening to everyone that joined us at this wonderful moment. And a big thank you to Victor and the rest of the organizers of this wonderful event. I am Al-Bashir Ishaq Ibrahim. I am based in Nigeria, and I'm the founder of Innotech Ideation Hub. What we do at Innotech Ideation Hub is basically upskilling mostly youth with in-demand digital and tech skills in areas of data analytics, social media marketing and e-commerce, coding, and the rest of in-demand skills. One of the important parts of our activity, or I would say one of the major part of the activities we do, is also business ideation, where we look at people that have idea in business and people that have started. We enroll them into incubation and acceleration programs to see that they have scaled up their ideas into at least an MVP. So currently we are running a learning cohort where we enroll several participants, mostly youth in different tracks. And some people may know me as a humanitarian worker. There also, as I work as a digital skills specialist, and my role is training trainers on how to identify people with needs in areas of digital skills, advanced digital skills training in area of different career paths, and then step down the trainings with target groups. So the aim there is to bridge the gender digital divide that exists within our regions in Nigeria. So I am equally part of the team working on the Africa Digital Inclusion Working Group, as well as a partner to African Digital Inclusion Alliance. I will stop here.
Yes.
Thank you for everyone that
Yeah.
joins, and back to you, Victor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, so I think I'll just then we also had our speaker. One of our speakers was to come from Tunisia. That is called Dr. Huda Chihi. She's working for the super communication technology in Tunisia as one of the senior researchers there. Actually, she's traveling now, so we can't have her on board. But anyway, we're going to be continuing to have a discussion regarding these critical topics. I just want to have a very brief intro session with that is going to take around 10 to 15 minutes with Anissa and Al Bashir, because I was to host this first session. Then from there, I'm going to able to handle it to Mr. Patrick Okot, who is going to give us a brief state of digital inclusion and equity in Africa. Then from there, we go to the next panel discussion. So I'm going to just get this from Anissa. I know that this has been a journey of learning and unlearning for Anissa, because from the first point, what made her create the working group, that was why we need to know that. Then what does he see as a best way that Africa can really approach digital inclusion in a way that prioritizes its sovereignty, prioritizes its developmental agenda, prioritizes its interest, yeah, and the entire future of the globe, because Africa is like the globe. I always know it that way. So I just want Anissa to tell us what motivated her to start the working group and the fellowship, and also what does it see Africa embrace this area. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Victor. Um, I've been working in the space of digital inclusion since 2015 as a researcher and as a program manager. I initially was running the digital inclusion program for the International Rescue Committee. And as part of that work, I was able to become a UNHCR Innovation Fellow. And the project that I created for the fellowship was the Africa Digital Inclusion Working Group. And how that aligned with the Global Research Network is we're committed to um, create and inspire research that serves community in that is very community centered. So when looking at um, the topic is creating an infrastructure. The working group was inspired in why it was innovative was I wanted to provide a space for African practitioners and people who were champions of digital equity to come together and discuss what they felt was important based on their experience, as opposed from having a north-south information transfer. The innovation was having a south-north information transfer. And that's how the fellowship came about. Is as the year we have just celebrated our first year anniversary, and what we were hearing from the members, or what I was hearing from the members, was that they wanted to have research that was based and rooted in African lived experience, so that when grants came up, when policy briefs, when research was produced, that it would be done by scholars in Africa, and that program evaluation would be done by African researchers. So this is what we created, and we have 9 scholars that work across Africa. Most of our researchers are in Nigeria, but we have some from Kenya as well, and Ethiopia. And that's kind of what inspired that. It might be, a very small idea to have, our knowledge rooted in what African scholars, African communities see as the important factors. But at the Global Research Network. And for me personally, when I've worked in the areas of policy, I have found that I've been most successful because I always worked with communities. I see them as the subject matter experts, and I'm here just to translate that information into policy. So that's kind of was the background. And Mira Goretti is going to also is who is doing a wonderful job with her research in rural communities, K through 12 education, looking at what are gaps and challenges and successes in schools there in the area of digital inclusion. And the Africa Digital Inclusion Working Group is open to anybody. So if anybody would like to join, we meet quarterly. We just had a meeting a couple of days ago, and the next one's scheduled to be in February. You can find us on LinkedIn. And again, it's the Africa Digital Inclusion Working Group.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that is well explained, because I feel like there's been a lot of gaps that you've seen, because you're saying that it was to give an opportunity for like the communities, like the subject matter experts. So if you go to a community, for you to put digital inclusion and digital equity related actions there, they are the first subject matter experts have to come from the community. Like, people have to give you the thoughts, and if from there you're able to curtail a strategy that can fit them. So I just want also to get to know from you, what do you think is the future of Africa in terms of digital inclusion, data sovereignty, digital sovereignty, and data protection? Because I think that is a very important component. As much as we want to institutionalize digital inclusion and do a lot of this research, what does it come in the place of digital inclusion with all these key areas? Before I go to Al-Bashir. Are you there kindly? Anissa, did you get me? Or you get?
Oh, I thought you wanted Al-Bashir to answer.
Oh, it was you still. I just want to go to Al-Bashir then.
Oh, okay. Oh, did you want me to reply?
Yeah, please. Yes.
Okay, let me turn on my camera so people can see. So I'm actually very hopeful and enthusiastic for the prospects of digital inclusion, digital equity being reached in Africa, because there is so much convergence, and it's a new field. It's a new field, and there's not a lot of people that are working in this area, so that's what gives me hope. Since it's new, there's a big opportunity for African communities and researchers and policymakers to work together to create something new. You know, it was always the our hope that when we produce research at GRN, that it has an impact, a positive impact on communities. And one of the things that you see happening is, you know, a conference like this, just to have a conference that is open to the public, that's not a high level conference that's dictating what's going to happen in Africa. This is kind of the important focal point. But you know, when it comes to things like, you know, data sovereignty and AI and broadband and connectivity, it's going to be the convergence of multiple stakeholders and voices to come together and push governments to provide the necessary guidelines, policies, and rules and norms. And this is where conferences like this are important. I'm currently working on a monitoring and evaluation of a program that runs across 7 different countries. 2 of them are African countries. And one of the things that we're finding in every single context is that a side effect of working in digital inclusion is people become active advocates for digital inclusion. What does that mean? It means that digital inclusion is democracy in action. You can't work in the spaces of digital inclusion and not gravitate towards advocating for your communities, for yourself, for your nations. So this is why I'm hopeful. It's going to create leadership. It is creating leadership across multiple sectors because digital inclusion intersects in different sections from healthcare to business platforms and everything in between. So this is why I am very optimistic because this is a new venture, because we can have a lot of grassroots community-based involvement, and that can turn into advocacy. And that's across the world. But since I chose to work in Africa as opposed to other regions because there's so many different factors that are working in favor of reaching digital equity in Africa that's not really present in other regions.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. That has been very powerful because digital inclusion is democracy in action. That is a very powerful statement. And the best of it all is that what motivates this work is that it's multi-sectoral and also cross-sectional, which means it cuts across every sector and cuts across everyone. So let's feel part of this journey. And I feel like you've given us a very good way to see through the lens of what we can act on and push towards truly seeing digital inclusion fully realized in Africa, and not now the equity, realize at community, at national level. So thank you so much. I think I just want to go to Al Bashir. I know you've had a lot of experience in terms of digital skills as a specialist in this area. You've also had a session to bring up businesses and all that. You've also got an opportunity to work with different agencies, particularly in Nigeria. I think that is what I know that you've done some co-projects with them, yeah? But now when it comes to digital inclusion, I know sometimes you face a lot of challenges that you feel like if it were digital inclusion, we can do more better. I don't know if you think about this. Just want to give me an experience of how your journey has been through the whole digital inclusion, digital skills development space. And then how can we embrace digital inclusion towards this new way, as a new way of doing things? Yeah, because you've had experience in this area already. So how can we bring digital inclusion to have a new way or a new approach to doing things in terms of institutionalization now? Albasir, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Victor. So I think the most important thing is, first of all, understanding the components that usually add up to make digital exclusion. And that I would say number one is digital literacy. Digital illiteracy, lack of the digital literacy. There's aspect of accessibility, access to those digital tools. And then we have issues of connectivity, another aspect. And then affordability. You may have some of those components or the components may be available, the internet coverage may be available, but difficult to be afforded by an ordinary or average citizen of Africa. And then, yes, I would say aspect of usability or being able to turn those skills into income generating means. So those are very important, and those are the aspects that usually constitute the exclusion. And if we are to tackle those or to bring about digital inclusion, we basically have to start with number one, that is the digital literacy. And that is where my specialization is, aspect of digital skills, empowerment, and then increasing inclusion and making sure that everybody is participating in the digital economy of the world and Africa. So some of the journeys so far, I would say we started from basically means we have like clusters, hub, and centers to conduct those trainings to individuals, target individuals, but the gap is big. If you look at the ITU report, the world is moving ahead. They are a bit closing all these gaps of digital exclusion. I think the number one on the journey is Europe. They don't have issues. They are closing that gap, and other parts of developed nations. But if you come to Africa, the gap still exists. There's a very big gap if you look at that report. And I think according to the World Bank report by 2021, they say that like for Nigeria particularly, over 50% of Nigerians lack digital literacy. So that's over 100 million people. You know, Nigeria is like more than 10 countries of average population of African countries. So if you look into that, there's a great work to be done by largely Africa and Nigeria particularly. So then we now expand to using the digital means, using collaboration tools and different platforms. You are talking about what are some of the ways we see this can be scaled up. So I will say is by using digital platforms or collaboration to expand this initiative. And that is why today, even the digital Africa Digital Inclusion Conference is taking place via a collaboration medium, not through a physical event. So this is very important also in scaling up the call to action on digital inclusion, equipping our population with digital skills. Leveraging on AI, today, I will say in the past, we all need a tutor, or a physical tutor, or someone teaching us remotely to be able to acquire this knowledge. But today, almost each and every one of us is working or moving with or I would say a digital skills expert in his or her pocket. And that is an AI tool. So by just going to any of these AI chatbots, whether it's be ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, you can ask them for a personalized training to acquire some of these digital skills. And they will give you a personalized content to teach you or to give you this digital literacy we are talking about. So that's just one or two ways to go about it. I will stop here. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah. I think that is a very powerful thing because I feel like it is giving us a clear way of understanding digital exclusion, which is more of digital divide in itself, and also the approach towards this a different statistical representation that is already there that give us an identity of what is there already. So thank you so much, Al-Bashir. By the way, you made a statement that is very important that Nigeria is having is like more of other 7 countries in it of Africa. That shows the demographic power, the demographic potential that Nigeria is representing. And for us to really achieve digital inclusion, we have to work in Nigeria so much because if they have over 230 ethnic languages, which means if it is digital equity practitioner, you think about their language systems, their culture, how to adapt them to the systems of digital inclusion and equity. And all that are very important. So thank you so much for that. So I just want you to give me an highlight of, if today you were to recommend strong strategies that the government of Nigeria or any other government in Africa can accommodate to institutionalize digital inclusion. Yeah. Where I'm so sorry for that, guys. Yes. Yeah, I was saying that today, if you were to recommend to any government in Africa or government of Nigeria particularly, of to institutionalize or to make digital inclusion a priority, what is the safest step you could give them to do? Yeah.
Well, I will start with awareness. So you may think some of these people in power or some of these leaders are fully aware of the potentials and opportunities that existed in the digital space, but unfortunately, they are not as aware as we think they are. So basically, I would say I would love first of all to make sure that the right people to make this decision are very well aware about the opportunities and that they make the citizens of the continent become aware of some of the opportunities that existed for them on the digital space. That is number one, because we need the buy-in of the people whom we are going to exercise this digital inclusion on. And I'm saying this because, yes, so if you look at the aspect of, for instance, lack of job opportunities and the poverty that is dealing with Africa, or we are facing as African nations, the solution to this poverty and the jobs we are looking for, they are up on the internet. They are there available looking for people that have the on-demand skills. So whenever you say you don't have a job, there are thousands of jobs waiting for you. All they need is for you to be qualified technically to be able to have access to them. And while you feel your market is not giving you money, if you go up on the internet, there are several opportunities that existed for you to buy and sell, as well as make money on different freelancing opportunities. So, but are the citizens fully aware? Are the governments who are trying to make job opportunities for people fully aware of this? If no, let's start with awareness. That is, I would say, my number one strategy. And then second, the most important thing is identifying the actual skills gap and the needs of the people. You know, we usually design programs for, like the government will try to design programs for the citizen as government, or as just a number of people seated down in a room called office. So they will design a program for an entire nation, not putting the people at the center of the design. That is where the problem started. Design should always start with the people. So putting people at the center of this is of digital inclusion approaches is very key. So, and then in the end, providing access, very important. Or I would say even before access, we need policies. Policies are key. Like for instance, in Nigeria, we have the National Information Technology Development Agency doing a very wonderful job, but they need a lot of support, and they need to bring people at the center of their design. One important thing they are doing is making their documents available for input from all the public before publishing or validating them. This is very important. So I call on all government to adopt these policies or approach in achieving digital inclusion in Africa.
Thank you. Wonderful. I think there is a very critical thing, because awareness is very key. Awareness is what makes us start to make decisions that are very critical. And also skills gap in terms of mapping and getting to know how is the skill. This fact is called digital skill mapping, very critical, because sometimes we can design so many good training programs and content for our communities, but they are never aligned to that, to those thoughts. They don't even see the connection clearly. So I think that is a very important component to put in place. And also access. Access is there, but now the cost, affordability, and all that need to be put clearly. So thank you so much. And I think these are very, very critical areas to put in place.
I'd like to add to that
yes,
as
please,
well.
go ahead, Anissa. Go ahead. In fact, I was to come back.
From a policy perspective, and Faizat Abdullahi is going to present on broadband and connectivity. You should really check out her presentation. That's quite excellent and thorough. Alisher said, educating policymakers. Part of this advocacy that I'm talking about, this democracy in action, is bringing what is the most necessary and most prevalent things that communities are talking about. Broadband and connectivity is a foundation of all of this. So one of the things that I would recommend is that the internet is seen as a critical infrastructure, the same as roads, electricity, because the digital world is now as real as the physical world. So really emphasizing the importance of broadband and connectivity as a critical infrastructure point, and making it as accessible as possible, as a part of sustainability, and part is the development goals, and aligning it with different funding streams by framing it that way. And the second thing that I would do is a government that would be very forward thinking and innovative would sponsor some type of competition, uh, to see what would be some really innovative ways to bring about connectivity in different areas of Africa, very diverse geographically, linguistically. How would a community envision having being connected? And it might look different in different areas. So this way, you also have a component of outreach, having people start thinking about what the internet is and what the internet can be, but again, placing it within a very African local context, because digital inclusion requires that participation of locality, of location, of place, of being really seeped and foundational in what do communities need, what's going to work. So again, infrastructure, that it's a critical infrastructure, and second, creating some type of competition that would allow people to start to participate. So it's not just this top-down approach that Victor and Oversure is talking about. You have to have a space for people and communities to be those subject matter experts, and that those are just two ways that I would envision that happening.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. I think we're already out of time for this session. I feel there's a lot of more we need to bring into place to make sure that we are really going to tackle these components that are very important. So connectivity is very cardinal. Digital skills is very foundational. I don't have to talk about them. Yeah, digital skills is very foundational. And even the issues to do with device access and all these are enablers towards digital inclusion. So I feel like as much as our governments campaign a lot with having roads, having hospitals, they need to start campaigning also around with internet infrastructure. Yeah, and you need to the digital influence and the people need to stand strong and make this clearly known, not just to them as the leaders, but even to the people who are central towards all these things we really want to do. So thank you so much. I think I want to give 1 minute each because it is already 58. Then we are going to be welcoming our next presenter, that is Mr. Patrick Okot from Uganda. But before that, if there's any question, kindly you can make it in a comment section. And if you have a comment, please feel free to make it there as we are preparing to usher our next presenter. I want to give Anissa, let me start with Al-Bashir, and I'll come back to Anissa, just to give us his 1 minute roundup call on this important area.
Thank you, Victor. I think this is the most important moment for Africa to institutionalize digital inclusion. Very important. I think there is a report that mentioned the amount of money the world is losing as a result of not including women in technology as we are supposed to. So I think it's in billions of dollars, the amount of money the world is losing by not including women. We are talking about the inclusion here, not just from the angle of gender, but also on the angle of including all the tribes, all the kind of categories of people, regions, and what have you. So by missing any of those out, the world is losing, Africa is losing, and everyone is losing. So this is very critical to all of us, and we need to work together, put all efforts together to make sure that these have been institutionalized. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think there's a very good round of call to action. Commitment, resilience, and across even women and everybody is asked to be part of this journey. Thank you so much, Al Bashir. Let me go to Anissa to make us a very strong round of call in 1 minute. Mr. Patrick, can you start sharing with us if possible? Yes, please go ahead.
So for creating infrastructure, it's important to keep in mind that it has to be a flow dynamic framework. And that's why it has to be focused on local concerns. So when thinking about infrastructure and inclusion, everyone has to be included. Victor and I were just talking the other day about the importance of promoting and creating content in various languages. Africa has so many languages, and that's kind of one of the bottlenecks of how is an infrastructure going to support a network of multiple language families, because there's that gap between some languages don't have technical language to describe all of these concepts in digital inclusion. So a lot of outreach, because the more outreach you do and the more connectivity that you have, and just think about it as different maps popping up. What is going to bring in democracy into digital inclusion, and then hopefully spill over into other aspects of society, is welcoming different voices, because different people are going to connect different ways. One, Al-Bashir mentioned women, disabilities, but also language. Not everybody speaks English. Not everybody speaks even, national languages. There's so many different languages happening at different local levels. So this infrastructure needs to be as flexible as possible. You need to bring in as many voices as possible so that it does remain able to change, because it is going to change. Digital inclusion skills are disposable. So when thinking about this infrastructure, not just thinking about how it's going to look now, but how it's going to look 100 years from now, because that's actually how we should be planning from a policy infrastructure perspective.
Thank you. Thank you. So that is a very good one, good points to take home. And I feel like Africa has a lot of responsibility to house and to work towards this area. And yeah, so if you have any question or comment, kindly, you can feel free to make it there in the chat box. I can see Martin Mwansa saying that we have done a lot from my research in our country. Not everyone has a knowledge on digital inclusion. Definitely, you're the first one to have the knowledge, so you can transfer it over there, definitely. They also have that what is expected from members. Okay, so okay. So this is going to be answered. This seems very personal. Yeah. Yeah. Muketi Ruye, you're going to be answering that as time will come. So let me just take time to welcome our next presenter from Uganda. That is Mr. Patrick Okot. I think he's going to introduce himself better and more. But let me just say now it is your time. Yeah, can get to take us through. Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick. Please welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Engineer Victor. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Africa Digital Inclusion Conference 2024. I'm going to talk about understanding digital inclusion and digital equity in Africa. A little bit about me. I am an advocate for digital inclusion and digital equity. I'm also a lecturer in the ICT field, a researcher, and I work at the Department of Computer Science, Faculty of Science, Gulu University in Uganda, one of the public universities. I'm currently pursuing my PhD. Particularly, I'm looking at bridging the digital divide between the rural health centers and the urban health centers here in the northern part of Uganda. So briefly, that's about myself. I've been practicing for over 10 years in the ICT field. So I want to welcome all of us today to look at to explore these crucial concepts of digital inclusion and digital equity in Africa. So as the continent continues to look at bridging the digital divide, it is essential to understand the challenges.
You can share the next screen. I don't know if you are not able to see it from my side.
It's okay. Thank you. Yeah, so I was saying it's crucial to understand the challenges and opportunities for promoting equitable access to digital technologies. So I'm going to be looking at a number of things in the time allotted for me, as we can see there in the outline. So without wasting much time, let me go straight. So we begin by understanding what we mean by digital inclusion. According to ADIA, we understand digital inclusion as a set of activities that promote the use of ICTs by everyone, irrespective of any conditional ties toward a productive and fulfilled life. So this can include things like physical access to devices and internet connectivity, digital literacy skills, like one of the precurrent speakers was talking about, to effectively use technology, and then access to relevant digital content and services. So that's how we can understand digital inclusion. And also we need to understand what we mean by digital equity. Again, according to ADIA, we look at it as the process of identifying, centering, and amplifying unique requirements of individuals or communities who are using a specific form of technology while protecting their human sovereignty towards productivity, resilience, and a positive life outcome. And this also entails a number of things. One, identifying and addressing disparities in the digital access and opportunities. Two, promoting fairness and equal treatment in digital spaces. And three, ensuring digital technologies are designed to meet the diverse needs. So that's how we define or want to understand digital equity. So what are some of the statistics that talk about the digital inclusion in Africa? By research, in terms of internet connectivity or penetration, we see that only 22% of Africans have internet access, with the significant disparities between the urban and rural areas. About 800 million Africans still lack access to internet. This according to ITU 2022. Then in terms of the mobile coverage, we also found out that while about 70% of Africans have access to mobile coverage, many still lack affordable internet and the devices because of the high costs. Yeah, so about 40% still lack affordable internet. This is according to GSMA 2022. And then another area we're looking at is the digital literacy. There is still limited digital skills and awareness that hinder effective use of digital technologies. So the digital divide still persists across the urban, rural, the rich and the poor, the male and the female, the able and the disabled, etc., etc. So what are the possible components that should be in place to ensure there's digital inclusion? We need to look at skill development among the marginalized groups, and we need to ensure that there is device access and not only access, but also in terms of affordability to ensure that no one is left behind. And then, of course, the main issue right now is the internet access. And also we look at the right digital infrastructure that must be in place. And of course, this cannot go without the technical support provision because most people still lack this technological skills. We should also make sure that the marginalized groups are included. I've talked about the disabled and those that are vulnerable in terms of accessing these technologies. And then, of course, there should be a supportive policy environment. So these are some of the factors that we can look at as being the most important components of digital inclusion. And what are some of the barriers at the moment, digital inclusion? We have a number of barriers. I'm looking at a few. The key ones include infrastructure, as it is testified by many. We have limited electricity, like here in Uganda, most rural areas still don't have access to electricity. Internet is still a big problem and very expensive in most parts of Africa. And the device availability is also still a challenge in terms of infrastructure. Then, of course, the affordability, high data costs for you to get good access, high speeds, you have to part with a lot of money. Device prices are still high. Those good and state-of-the-art devices are really expensive. And of course, limited financial inclusion that makes these devices not affordable. Three, we're looking at digital literacy. There's still limited skills, awareness, and education in terms of digital content and infrastructure. So as we saw earlier on, there is need for the training and provision of materials and tools that can enable digital inclusion. Yeah, there's language and cultural barriers. Africa has a diversity of languages. We've just heard that Nigeria has, is it over 50 languages? Likewise, in Uganda, we have very many tribes with also over 50 different languages. So that is a big barrier to the inclusion. Of course, disability and accessibility is still a problem. Yeah, inaccessible digital platforms and devices that hinder digital inclusion. So these are some of the key barriers, plus of course, many others which we can think of individually or as a country. So what are some of the initiatives that can promote digital inclusion? There is need to look at a number of things as a country. One can be the national digital strategies that must be laid by the government. So the government's plans to develop digital infrastructure and services is key, because without government support, all these cannot happen. Two, there should be public to private partnerships, collaborations between governments, private sector, and the civil society is very important in terms of promoting digital inclusion. And of course, the community networks, there should be some local initiatives providing internet and internet access and digital literacy, especially in the rural areas that are still lagging behind, and those underdeveloped parts of the countries, and also those countries that are underdeveloped. Next is looking at affordable devices and data plans. Yeah, as we saw earlier on, the devices are still expensive in most parts of Africa. And if a plan is put in place to subsidize these costs, especially by government, that would be really good. So initiatives that aim at reducing costs and increasing accessibility must be looked at. And then, of course, e-government services should be in place. the digital platforms like for public services and information. I'm glad that most governments are now going especially if we've seen here in Uganda, there are a lot of government departments that are already automated. The payroll system, most ministries are already taking up e-government or e-governance. So this is a good sign. So these are some of the initiatives that we can look at.
Sim, you're mute.
Yeah, I'm back on. Yeah, so what are the digital equity considerations? As we saw, the digital equity considerations include a number of things like identifying and centering and amplifying those unique requirements of individuals or communities. Yeah, while also looking at protecting the human sovereignty. And all this working towards productivity, looking at resilience and a positive outcome. So the number of things we can look at in terms of equity. One is addressing the systemic inequalities among the people, among the communities, like in terms of gender, disability, and socioeconomic disparities that still exist among the different categories of people, like the rural to urban, yeah, the rich and poor, yeah. And two, we need to look at ensuring cultural relevance and linguistic diversity. Yeah, we've looked at the language barrier as being one of the major factors hindering digital inclusion. So the digital contents can be maybe like translated into the local languages so that the people who may not understand English or other languages can be able to be included in all these processes. Three is fostering digital entrepreneurship and innovation among the young innovators and all categories of people. So supporting, there must be support for the African digital businesses that are coming up in order to ensure equity. Then we have digital rights and online safety. Of course, protecting digital rights and online safety security is always a big issue when it comes to anything to do with technology. So we cannot forget about that. The copyright issues and other issues involving use of information should all be looked at. Then encouraging inclusive digital governance. Yeah, this is ensuring that digital policies benefit all Africans, not only a selected few. Yeah, the policies or the digital governance should be all inclusive so that no one is left behind. So these are some of the considerations that I looked at, plus, of course, many others depending on each country and what they're doing in that case. So I was able to look at a few case studies some successful case studies include Rwanda's digital literacy program for rural women, where they're training the rural women in technology, and it has been a success. Then we also have South Africa's public Wi-Fi initiative, where they're providing free internet access in public spaces. Also in Uganda, we have had some initiative also by government providing public internet around the Constitutional Square in Kampala. Then we have for the universities within the country, there is EduRoam, which is accessible with authentication by the universities. So if you're a staff member or a student, you can access EduRoam from any of those available campuses or universities around. So that is in terms of public Wi-Fi. Then we also have the Kenya's Digital Entrepreneurship Hub, which supports digital startups and innovation. These are a few of the success stories which I was able to come across. But I know, of course, that each and every other country is trying to come up with their unique ways of promoting digital inclusion and digital equity. And what are the recommendations which I can propose? One is that we need to invest in digital infrastructure, because the biggest problem is still infrastructure, as many countries can agree with me. So there is need to expand internet and device availability. So if the government can come in and come up with policies that can support like subsidizing prices, costs, that would really help. Yeah, then of course, implementing inclusive digital policies, addressing the systemic inequalities and promoting digital equity among the different categories of users. And we also need to look at promoting the digital literacy, develop digital skills and awareness programs that can train the groups, the marginalized groups, especially those that are not yet able to access these technologies, and they're still excluded. Then there is need to foster some partnerships. There's need to collaborate between governments, the private sector, the civil society, so that we push forward this agenda of digital inclusion and digital equity to a success. Then last but not least, there's need to monitor and evaluate the progress. There's need to track the digital equity indicators and adjust the strategies accordingly to ensure that the whole thing is a success where everyone will be happy and enjoy these technologies. So in conclusion, we see that digital inclusion and equity are crucial or critical for Africa's socioeconomic growth. And what we need to do is address these barriers and promote the initiatives that are on the ground in the different countries, and ensure equitable digital opportunities that will bridge the digital divide and unlock our continent's potential. Thank you very much. That is what I had. And this, I feel, references was able to access.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. It's so informative and very powerful. It has brought about understanding the entire ecosystem. Like, I want to give you an African perspective of digital inclusion, looking from different case studies, different definitives that are very critical for us to build our ground or really build a foundation that can allow us to talk about this issue. So that is the state of digital inclusion in Africa. And I don't know if anybody has a question or a comment. I will just give a 1 minute session. Then from there, we're going to a panel discussion. Again, I'm just seeing a lot of complimentary comments. That is from Auma leader saying it was a nice one, Mr. Cott, good job. This is very informative. Thank you, Doreen. We can see also Talemwa saying that thank you. That is for your lecture, wonderful. Okay, you have self-small students here. Yeah, good is proud of you. So thank you so much. I can see a lot of complimentary comments there. We really appreciate, and that is it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see. Okay. We really appreciate. Thank you so much. I think a lot is going on well, and I think we are learning. Yeah, I know some of us have. After this conference, you're going to be asking of us, what have you learned? Yeah, what can you note down wherever you are? What are you going to be sharing as a call to action? Yeah, it's going to be helping us to understand the entire context. I just want to welcome Mr. Dr. Bernard, who seems to be getting an emergency just now. It's so bad. But so I think the first thing I'll do is to go to the panel in the next panel discussion. Yeah. If there's no other question regarding the presentation here, we go to the next panel discussion. That is going to, after that, we are going to come back to the e-fireside chat between Dr. Bernard and Dr. Myra Goretti from Nigeria and Dr. Bernard from Kenya. So thank you so much, Mr. Patrick. We are honored, so grateful. I know you are going to be sharing all those presentation slides that we're able to share with our colleagues or our participants to get to delve deep into them. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, so I think I'll go definitely to welcome the next panel. It's going to be a 4-based panel discussion. I was having people one person from Ethiopia, Kenya, Malawi, and South Africa. Nigeria, I don't know why you found yourself not here, but still you're going to be getting different knowledge and understanding in different contexts. So I'm going to start with welcoming Mona Lisa. I don't know if Mona Lisa from South Africa is in, because she was to host this session here.
Hi, Victor. Yes, I'm in.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So we're going to be welcoming Mona Lisa to help us go through this session. Yeah. So I don't know if you're able to know your speakers and able to put us on this table now as I share the session here, as you understand the topic and everything.
Okay, should I start now or?
Yeah, you are free to make introductory remarks, please. Yes.
Oh, okay then. Okay. Thank you, Victor, and welcome everyone. So just before we get started, my name is Mona Lisa Mapapu, and I am from South Africa, and I'm part of the executive Africa Digital Inclusion Alliance, and my role is as a country director for South Africa. So just to quickly introduce to you our panelists who are joining us today. First one we have, I'm just hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If I don't, I really apologize, but I've been practicing, I promise you. So the first one we have Shishay Ekwa Gabriel Mikhail, who's a lecturer in Mikhail University, as well as a program coordinator for Mikhail American Corner in Ethiopia. Then we're also joined by Jacqueline Gigide, who's a program officer leader, learning and digital. Oh, she's also a digital inclusion practitioner from Malawi. And then the last but not least, we're also joined by Anthony Chege, who's a regional coordinator for Africa Digital in Kenya. So, welcome, guys. I really hope we have a very interesting panel discussion. As you know, the topic is on digital skills for youth empowerment and lifelong learning. So, without wasting further time, I would like to ask any one of you can maybe take this question. So the first question is on why is it so important for us as young people to have digital skills? So maybe Anthony, you can take this one if you are with us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mona Lisa. For confirm, you can get me loud and clear.
Yes, I can get you loud and clear. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. So my name is Anthony Chege from Kenya. I am the regional coordinator for Ajira Digital Program in Kenya. Ajira Digital Program is a program of the government of Kenya under the Ministry of ICT, and we focus on helping the youths to earn a decent living through online work. I'm sure all of us here have heard of people who work online, either you are a writer, transcriber, virtual assistant, or whatever you do, you operate remotely and you're a remote worker. So the government of Kenya has done a lot of research in the world on the best practices to make this work, and they've packaged this into a curriculum, which we roll out in a very well-organized training and mentorship, and we measure our success by how many youths we are able to transform living through online work. So now to answer your question, what you're talking about underscores the importance of digital skills, because for us, we see digital skills as what powers you to now venture and earn fully in the digital economy. We feel that without the digital skills, you cannot be connected to the rest of the world. You cannot power a remote workplace. You cannot be a digital innovator. And it should be the foundation to every other core skill that you want to acquire if you have to be relevant in any career. Whichever career somebody is in, whatever line of fashion you are in, we feel that everyone requires digital skills, because one way or the other, all careers are being powered by ICT, by the digital space, by digital tools, by AI. And so it is becoming a prerequisite for anyone who needs to excel on any field and who needs to do whatever they are doing, but in a better way. So for us, we feel that is the sole reason why digital skills are a basic requirement and a mandatory requirement for everyone in Africa.
Okay, thank you so much, Anthony. And Jacqueline, is there anything perhaps you'd like to add on what Anthony just said?
Thank you so much, Mona Lisa. I hope you can hear me. We are blessed with rains, but I hope I'm audible. So just to add on what Jeggy has said, digital skills is more like life nowadays, because we cannot live without having digital skills. Lately, I've noticed that for us even to come to this conference, we needed some sort of like tech skills. So that's why we're here, because digital Redrance has brought us together. We are like an ecosystem, one people coming together because there is an enablement that is coming because of the aspect of digital tools as well as digital skills. So in as much as we are living in this era, it is paramount for us as youth, as people who are even training other people to be digitally literate, to have these digital skills. For work, as Cheki has said, we will always find ourselves back into using digital skills. I mean, digital tools. If it's not digital tools, but there'll be a demand for digital skills somehow, somewhere. So digital skills now is like a new oil that we need to have everywhere we go. Come to think of the issue of COVID-19, many people were just staying home because they lacked digital skills. They couldn't access opportunities. They couldn't work remotely. They couldn't go to school because they were lacking these digital skills. So it's indeed a tool that we must have. I put in quote, we must have these tools for us to excel in this digital era. Thank you so much. Back to you, Mona Lisa.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Just to ask you, Shishay, if I'm calling your name correctly, so you're a lecturer, right, at Mikel University, and I would like to know, as a lecturer, when you lecture your students, would you say they are digitally skillful? I mean, like when you lecture students, firstly, what course are you lecturing them? And with the university, would you say it does actually promote the digital innovation? Because we have different universities, right? We have universities that are more into the entrepreneurship space or innovation. So with the university that you are lecturing in, where does it fall under? Is it more into digital space or more into entrepreneurship? That's for you,
Okay.
Shishay.
Yeah, thank you so much. And this is a great question. And for the fact that digital skill at this very moment is very crucial, that every student needs to own. Well, I tried most of the time. I like what you said. That's how I begin. I try to ask them. Actually, I am a lecturer in the media and communication aspect. So it's both knowledge oriented and skill based courses that we provide. So for the skill aspect, I think they are supposed to have a digital skills. So, well, most of my time actually dwell in one of a training center or a youth garden that mainly engages in skill-based training that is called Magala American Corner. So I most often dwell my time there in providing, facilitating trainings, especially skill-based trainings, but coming to my students at the university as well. That's what I asked them. I mean, to what level they are. For example, I try to categorize them their digital skills as per as per their feedbacks. Are they in the foundational skills aspect? Are they in the intermediate skills, and are they in the advanced skills? So, well, obviously in the when they are freshman students, in the developing countries, we are with the limited access for all the computer and internet connectivities and so forth. So I find out because I've been working in a university for more than 12 years. So I find them during a freshman students, their digital skill is almost none, or we can say in the other foundational skills. So we strive for digital literacy, safe internet uses, and basic ICT tools at that level. And at some point, whenever we join to secondary and third year students, we find them in the intermediate skills after they have immersed in the profession. So at that level, we strive and adjust ourselves, and especially myself, in the productivity tools, in the social media proper uses, and so forth. Well, when they start to when they are in advanced class or in the graduating class, well, obviously we find them in the advanced skill level. So yeah, uh, potentially at this level, I just want to talk about the foundational skill level that most African students are in. I can say that for the fact that we have a very limited internet accesses, and for the very limited economic driven kind of constraints that their skill is at low level, that we need to improve, and that any advocates, any trainers, and the ones who wants to support in this regard needs really to work on more. Yeah, so that is how I can say, and that's how I can respond to your question if I give sense. But like, for the one that you asked also before about, to what extent will it help us, to have the skill? Well, as long as it is going to be instrumental for academic improvement, and for the fact that it will be supportive in our economic enhancement and for societal impact, well, aligning digital skill with our outcomes. I mean, the role of digital skills in our life is so vast. So that is how I can respond to your question. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shishay. Back to you, Anthony. So not so long ago, you just mentioned why it's so important for the youth to actually have these digital skills, especially within the workforce. So would you say perhaps is there a difference between being tech savvy and digitally skillful? And the reason why I'm asking this is because there are people who can make use of a phone. Like we've got your social media platforms, for example, like your Instagrams, your TikToks, your Facebooks. People are using it to make money off it. But then you get people who are more on the depth side when it comes to the digital space. So would you say there's a fine thin line between being tech savvy and digitally skillful, or is it just under the same umbrella that is? Anthony, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mona Lisa. Yes, now.
Oh, okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Of course, levels keeps becoming more and more important when it comes to understanding digital. But one thing we are agreeing is that every level is important and everyone must start at a certain level for you to be relevant to anything. So when I look at our ecosystem here in Kenya, we have those that are very skillful and they are important in facilitating so many functions of what is needed as critical infrastructure for growth here in Kenya. And then we have those that are basic, doing little things on social media or basic use of the internet. But what we are saying is that whichever level you are in, it is high time we see the internet as an investment. The time you spend on the internet should pay off. The amount you spend to pay for internet is not a cost that gets run down by the bundles that you use, but it is an investment that should pay off at the end of it all. So the amount that we are investing, both whether the government or as an individual to pay for your presence on the digital space should pay off in the end. And for us now, we are focused on what activities should people be engaging in so that investments for digital infrastructure, investments for internet as a critical infrastructure will end up helping businesses to make profit, helping individuals to make income, and to better the business that they are having for overall progress. So every level to me is important. There is no end to this because technology keeps changing. So whichever level we are in, we should be able to get into the next level through self-teaching initiatives and even our education system being conditioned to making sure that we have mainstream ICT running through everyone who is pursuing education in entrepreneurship field, in research field, or in primarily the fields that are known to be theoretical. Mona Lisa, I'm not sure if I've answered your question wholly. I got a better part of it due to internet problems towards the end.
No, you have answered my question, Anthony. Thank you. I'll back to you, Shishay. So you touched on the course that you actually lecture at the Mickle University. I think if I heard you correctly, you said you focus on media communication, if I heard you correctly. So with the question on between what is the difference between being tech savvy and digitally skillful, what role does it play or what significant role does it play in that particular course in which you are lecturing?
All right, this is also another great question. Actually, media and communication is journalism and communication is the department. So within the department, we have a number of courses. But to answer straight away your question, well, it really helps them whenever they become digitally literate or skillful. It will help them for the production courses, such as we do have documentary production courses. We do have writing and producing for broadcast media. We do have newspaper production courses, and we do have PR campaign and so forth, kind of production oriented courses. So whenever they are skillful, it really helps them and it keeps their life easy in winning and championing the course that they took. It's not only this one. Whenever they join to the as a journalist, as a media and communication consultant, and as a practitioner generally, this will also be the digital skills that they will have will be also their source of success. So the very skill that they will have, I mean, they have on digital skill is very important for them, not only during their course of studies, but also after their job. Yeah, so it's a very important. And right at this time specifically, we do have this online courses that we provide them. So it has been a very crucial. If they don't have that skills, they remain to be, they should work hard more so that they can get, so that they can own that skill. So yeah, that's the way I can express if I give sense to you, Mona Lisa.
Thank you so much, Ikwe. Um, for you, Jacqueline, so you are a digital inclusion practitioner, right? So, when you look at yourself, would you say perhaps you are tech savvy or digitally skillful? Like, if you could rate yourself, are you more on the tech savvy side or digitally skillful, or just both?
Thank you so much, Mona Lisa, for that beautiful question. So I'll tell you that I'm both. I'm
Okay.
digitally skillful and I'm also on the tech side. Why am I saying this? Let me start by telling you my story. So I did my school in the rural area and I had no access to any ICT lessons. And when I went to the Polytechnic for my studies, I was told that most of my assignments will be done on the computer. I tell you, that was like a death statement or sentence. But I told myself one thing, that I need to learn about tech things and at the same time also equip myself with digital literacy. So it started from there. And I've taken a lot of courses, including the one from the African Digital Inclusion. So through there, I did not only stop there. I also had to do some courses that empowers youth or people like me with digital skills and how they can also use tech assistant kind of tools. So as I am today, I can tell you that I also train people on digital skills because I have those skills and I also do things on the tech side of the things. So that's not only the things that I also do, but currently as a programs officer at Ladder Learning, where I work with government primary school learners, I also train learners on how they can use tech gadgets. For example, the use of smartphones, tablets, computers while they're still young, because I understand that the grassroots level is the most influential part that we also need to touch if we are to change the narrative of digital skills in our environment. So it has to start with them while they're still young. And when they grow up and go to secondary school, university, they'll not find this kind of techy site or the digital skills to be new to them because they have been trained while they're young. So we teach them on the tech side and also on the digital side. That's why I'm saying I'm both in the tech and I'm also on the digital part of it. So that is it. If I have answered your question correctly, Mona Lisa.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much. So just to wrap up the whole conversation that you just have now, I would like to ask each of you basically in your individual capacities, what roles have you played individually within your communities to actually promote digital inclusion? So I can start with you again, Anthony.
Mona Lisa, very good question. So the role that we played, myself and of course acting for my organization, Ajira Digital, is that we've made training accessible to youth, particularly women and refugees, those that we feel we need to include them more, by making sure that our training is free of charge and that we've eliminated the barriers of costs that hinders the youth in Africa to access training. So through Ajira Digital Program, everyone who walks our door, we are able to train them on basic digital skills for free, basic computer literacy. And on that, they become now part of a learning pathway that links them to a job category that can catalyze their speed of getting remote work or online employment as fast as possible. We are talking on research skills, data skills, transcription, all the way to advanced levels such as graphic design, artificial intelligence, web development, financial markets, or any skill that is monetizable or that can quickly change their life. So we've done that by eliminating the cost barriers. We've also set up digital hubs in the communities here in Kenya. We have 106 digital hubs that are spread across the country. We have center managers and trainers positioned on these hubs. We also have free computers so that youth in the community can walk in to these hubs and access training for free, be able to do practice for free, and even incubate their beautiful ideas, tech-related ideas, under the leadership of senior trainers, all for free. We've also made sure that we have presence in all higher learning institutions, the universities, the technical and vocational training colleges, making sure that we add value to their mainstream courses of pursuit by plugging in our digital economy training to every youth. Through this, we've collaborated with over 1,000 TVETs and made sure that we have trained them just to make sure that whatever everyone is learning, they are able to add a digital element to it. We offer all this for free. And of course, we love our impact because everyone is able to understand why you must plug in digital. For instance, if you're learning something like masonry, why you need to have a digital portfolio to make a sale to somebody who is even away from your town. I feel that has been game changing, and I feel this is something Africa should adopt so that we can be a game changer through ICT to the youth of Africa.
Thank you so much, Anthony. And to you, Jacqueline, what role have you played within your individual capacity in order to promote digital inclusion in your community? Hello, Jacqueline, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, so sorry. I experienced an internet interrupt. So please, can you repeat the question, please?
Okay, so I was asking, what role have you played in promoting digital inclusion within your community, in your individual capacity, that is?
All right, thank you so much. So let me talk from the wage Lulu setting, because if I'll not touch on this, I think I'll do an injustice to myself. So I've trained youth in digital literacy, more especially those that are in the rural areas. I did this during the time that I was doing my fellowship with the African Digital Inclusion. So I was able to assist youth in those rural areas on how they can work on the digital space, more especially with the basic digital skills like navigating the Google Workspace, doing data entry, and at the same time also having the tools to navigate through the conference tools like Google Meet and Zoom webinars. So that's number one. Number two, I also taught youth in my community on data analysis and digital skills which they can use to foster economic opportunities and personal growth. And I have also supported primary school learners on safe digital practices, more like cybersecurity, and also raise awareness about online safety. So these actually are the tools that I have, the things that I have done, more especially in the digital space, to make sure that I am also part and I'm bringing some sort of change to bridge the digital divide on a personal level. Thank you so much. Back to you, Mona Lisa.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. And lastly, for you, Shishay, what role have you played within your individual capacity in order to promote digital inclusion within your community?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So yeah, beyond the academic endeavors that I engaged for the last decades, like I said before, I have been working in a youth center or training center, we can say it, or a public garden, where especially users dwell their time seeking for a basic skill-based trainings and other soft and hard skill trainings. So speaking of my personal contribution to my community in the eyes of all, from the perspectives of digital inclusion, Well, I have been providing training in media literacy, and I have been providing. I have been actually trained AI in journalism, so I have shared my experience to my colleagues, to my students, and to the ones who engage in my training sessions as well. I do also provide trainings, peace messaging through digital skills or through digital media. We have been rigorously providing trainings on fact checking, fact checking, and peace messaging as well. To give it a local context, my perspective or my idea or my point is, well, I am from Ethiopia, in northern part of Ethiopia, called Tigray. So this community has been in a devastating war where it was, happened through various local and regional causes. So it has this community and has been generally affected by a different kind of myth and disinformation. So we've been trying to resolve these things, or we have been trying to mitigate, escalate, and to try to contribute our level basis in building the digital skills of the youth, so that they can use the digital media safely, so that they can verify an information, and so that they can influence as well, and on the way, and then eventually so that they can be peace builders. So I think ranging from media literacy up to digital skills for peace messaging, and digital skills for personal development, I think I have been contributing my level base, and my institution organization called Magala American Corner especially has been working on that, and I am coordinator of that training center or youth center. I think my contribution was immense. I can say that, and I will keep contributing my community for their safety, contributing for their growth, personal growth, and community growth. So we were providing all things for free, and it was inclusive as well. There has been youths who are disabled. There has been girls and women marginalized, but visited our corner and being beneficiary of such a crucial training. So yeah, that's the way I can express my contribution in the aspects of digital inclusion. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Shishay. Once again, thank you, guys, for being such an amazing panelist. Thank you to Anthony, Chege, Jacqueline, Jijide, and Shishay, Ekwa, Gabri, Mikhail. Thank you once again. And thank you, guys, for listening. I truly hope you learned a thing or two from our amazing, esteemed guests. And I personally also learned a lot from you guys. You're not just pretty faces or handsome guys, but you have brains as well and doing your best to promote digital inclusion within Africa. So thank you once again. Over to you, Victor. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Monalisa. I'm so grateful for the wonderful session indeed. Anthony is my boss, my former boss in Nigeria Digital. I've also been to Nigeria. I have to acknowledge that very well. Jacqueline Jijide has been a very amazing uh, member who has been digital inclusion practitioner. He passed through Africa Digital Inclusion Alliance. As she also has been doing a very good work in Ethiopia, not just in the media space, but also in the AI, has a lot of training, digital equity, and he has also gone through the fellowship of the Africa Digital Inclusion Working Group. I'm also happy. Thank you so much, Mona Lisa, for hosting this session. I'm so fired up. I was like noting things here, and when they was sharing their story, I was not just like hearing. I was getting the model. Like if you hear anybody share the story and you want to be part of that change, you get to sit in their story so that you're able to execute something. They're just patterns that you can follow and learn from there. So thank you so much, Anthony. I'm so much honored. Thank you so much for choosing to be with us. I know sometimes attention needs to be so in many places, but I'm so grateful. And thank you everybody for taking your time to listen to this wonderful, wonderful panel. I know digital skills is very foundational and it's very critical and very fundamental to make sure that we truly achieve the power that we really want from digital inclusion, which means digital inclusion is nothing when digital skills is not there. So thank you so much, Shishay. Thank you so much, Jacqueline and Anthony, and our great host, Mona Lisa, for taking this time to give us a very good presentation. Kindly, if you have any question, any additions, please, the chat box is ever open for you. Yeah. Also, I'm going to be sharing shortly the survey and attendance survey link, so that you're able to fill it, you're able to have your details captured, so that if you're able to think about the certificates, we're able to know those who attended the session. So thank you so much, and we are going to be sharing it in a few minutes. So it is 17:00. I was to welcome. We have 3 sessions to go. I don't know how we're going to be doing this. One, we have to have an e-fireside chat between Dr. Bernard Maake from Kenyan Kisi University and Dr. Mario Goretti from Nnamdi Azikiwe University in Nigeria. And they're going to be focusing on the research. I don't know if they are available, please. I know Dr. Bernard, are you there? If you're there now. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hope you can see me.
Yeah, we can. Let me just remove, yes. Dr. Mario Goretti, are you there kindly? Dr. Mario Goretti, I can't get to hear you. Dr. Mario Goretti. Dr. Maria Goretti is not in the call. Why? She was here. Yeah.
She is in the call, Mr. Victor.
I'm back. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon from Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you. You are like, where?
Good afternoon, ma.
Thank you. I have been listening to all our conversations and lectures. In fact, I am filled up with good ideas and beautiful experiences from different areas. Thank you so much, Victor, and my mentor, Anissa Abitia. I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful. So I think we're just going to straight to the session. It's going to be more of a discussion. I'm just going to be guiding it bit by bit. But the power is going to be on both of you. Yeah, just to get to know. So, sometimes I'm not really much qualified to host this session because I'm not, but I'll just to go ahead and get to here. So we're going to have this beautiful topic of leveraging research as a tool to accelerate digital adoption in Africa. And foundationally, I don't want to talk much. What I know is that educational research is very critical. Research centers, research people in this space need to be very, very well engraved so that they're able to bring this out clearly, so that we're able to know if you're interested in an area, what can you do? How can you start even pioneering or just doing something on it? Research has been a tool that has propagated or has pushed everything that we see today as a reality, because they began somewhere. Research was a foundation to all this. So I feel like it's a very important topic that every one of us has to take as serious as possible as they take us through this in the next 20 minutes of this session. I know the timely, they were to present earlier after in fact, the first session was to be there. So the time there is not really consistent with what is happening now. But now, just want to give this chance to Dr. Bernard to introduce himself well. Yeah. Then from there, he's going to give us a brief on this area and push it to Dr. Margaret, because I don't want to come in between this discussion. Thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Ben will speak first before myself, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm waiting.
No, thank you so much, participants. Thank you so much, Victor, and all the panelists who already presented. and all the participants who are listening. I'm so grateful, and I thank the organizers for giving me this chance to be here. Now, my name is Bernard Maake. Bernard Maake, uh, I'm working at Kisii University. Kisii University is one of the public universities in Kenya. Now, I am in the Department of Computing Sciences. I'm a lecturer there, and it so happens that Mr. Victor was my student, and I'm so proud that he's doing an amazing job. So that means I did my work well. Now, apart from just being the lecturer in the class, I am also the director of e-learning at the university. So where I sit at an office that overlooks and oversees all the digital learning matters within the university. So there's a lot of work that happens there. And maybe just to mention something, maybe to break the ice, when students first years come to the university, we always see lots of cases. Number one, you get students have just come, they don't have any digital device, but they're supposed to learn using computers and cell phones. So you get to understand that there are people from various backgrounds who might have had the opportunity of getting these devices, others didn't have. Digital literacy, you get that some of the students who are just joining campus are not aware that they're supposed to be digitally literate. And maybe some of the reason might be either social or economic challenges or barriers. And I have come to appreciate the relevance or the relevance of conducting research. So I really think that research is extremely important. Why? Because we live in an era whereby innovation is coming day in, day out. Right now, you move out there, it's all about digital innovations. And if you don't do research, or if you don't actually like guide people in understanding the importance of understanding the technologies that are out there, then there might be a chance of us not including other peoples or other members of the society. So straight into the importance of research. I love research. I do a lot of research. I do a lot of publications, etc. So I understand that research is extremely important. To me, I think research is a systematic process of gathering, analyzing, and interpreting information, and for the good of the people who are maybe who are stakeholders. Now, in this case, if we don't do research, then we are likely not going to address lots of challenges that are available. Now, with researcher, we are going to inform on the policies that are in place. With research being conducted, we are going to drive innovations. There's so many innovations that are happening. If we don't research, how would we encourage? How would we motivate? There are a lot of things happening there. Again, researcher would actually hold the stakeholders accountable. Now, we want to onboard people into this digital space, but are we also educating them on how they're supposed to be responsible? There's a lot that is happening right now. Responsible computing, responsible AI, responsible use of digital devices or digital technologies, etc. So I really feel that it is a space that has not really been exploited well. For instance, we in Africa, we get all the technologies coming to us. We sometimes don't do research to see whether some of these technologies are good for us, or we need to have the right policies to govern the use of these technologies. So researcher would be one of the things that would help us get to this solution. So my suggestion is this: that in as much as we are adopting digital inclusion. Let's also have studies or research done on how to access this digital knowledge, and how policies should be put in place, how we should drive technology and innovation, many other things. So I want maybe to pass it to Maria, Dr. Maria, for her to pick it up from there, and maybe I'll come back later on. But I really feel that we all have something that we can add on to this area of the way forward, more especially when it comes to research and digital inclusion. We have to leverage research because research would make us make informed decisions. Let's not all the time make decisions without really understanding the reason behind some of the things happening. So research is extremely important. Dr. Maria, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Bain. I appreciate. Okay, let me continue from where he stopped. Dr. Bain went as far as explaining the meaning of research and then meaning of digital inclusion and what he had been experiencing inside the classroom. Okay, but from what our coordinator, Victor, gave me, he asked so many questions which must be answered. And these questions, one of them is the context of digital inclusion. Under the context of digital inclusion, we know that it's all about the ADIA point of view. That is African Digital Inclusion Agenda point of view, which encompasses a broad set of activities aimed at ensuring that all individuals and communities have equitable access to information and communication technology. And then regardless of various sub-economic, socioeconomics or geographic barriers, there are some certain things we must look into. That is the significance of this research and the connotation to digital inclusion. Then components of digital inclusion and then challenges within the digital inclusion. Okay, then under the context, we all know that the vision here and the mission of African digital inclusion is to make sure that there is equity in digital inclusion, digital technology, that everybody should have access to it, be literate, and at the same time, make use of it. And then connectivity. Then what are the significance of this? Empowerment. Because you know that as the world is digitalized, we all know that everything, if you are not within the digital era or digital access, that means you are left out. Then look at the economic growth. When you are connected, you discover that there are certain things you are able to discover and at the same time have access to. For example, if you have a broader access to technology, the internet, digital inclusion fosters entrepreneurship. It creates jobs, at the same time stimulates economic development. Then thirdly, social equity. Social equity, it helps to reduce disparities between different socioeconomic groups. For example, we are having this conference. You have not seen me, but you are hearing my voice. At the same time, you know that you can easily connect to anybody. My mentor in US, which is Anissa Abeta there, and she has been giving me advice. She have not seen me, but I have been gaining from her. All these are social equity and what we can gain from digital inclusion. At the same time, civic engagement. Civic engagement gives us access to ICT and encourages citizens to engage with government and the civic institutions. Then the key points here are access to infrastructure. Under the access to infrastructure, we have connectivity, which enables ensures the reliability and reliable internet access, especially in underserved and rural areas. Then devices. Do we have phone, the smartphone, even the other phone? Do we have it? All these are the components. Digital skill development. Have you been trained? Do you know how to make use of the system? Do you know how to make use of your smartphone? Like Jacqueline and her colleagues said that they have been training people on how to make use of smartphones and all the rest of them. So we appreciate each and every one of us is working towards that. Then another one is content relevance, language, local language and cultural relevant content. All these, you know that internet can, if you are online, you can easily translate any language to English, but not all the languages, because there are some languages that have not been keyed into the system yet, which we all are trying to develop one by one. Now, another one is affordability, the cost reduction strategy. All these are the components, policy and governance. My colleague, Dr. Ben mentioned it. Then challenges in digital inclusion. One of them is infrastructural limitations, socio-economic barriers, digital literacy gaps, cultural and linguistic barriers, policy coordination. Okay, now what is the need for research in promoting digital inclusion? Number one, you know that research is all about investigation, getting problems solved. Any research that does not solve problem is not a research. There are some problems that must come up before you now carry out a research. For example, you must, one of the key things that initiates, key initiation or key things that will drive you into research is to understand barriers, to know the problems. What are the problems to solve? What are the things for you to do to solve these problems? These are the things that brings up research. Now, the need for research in promoting digital inclusion, number one is to understand barriers to access. If we can understand the barriers to access to internet, access to affordability of these digital tools, access to training, access to other things, policies, and all the rest of them. If we can understand it, that means you now know that we are getting it right. And you know that these are reasons why we are now doing research in so many areas. Utilization, availability, challenges, all these topics are revolving around research and how to solve the specific problem. Now, secondly, informing policy development. We all know that policy is what is hindering so many things in our continent, Africa. So many politicians are entitled to their what they can enrich their pockets with. They are interested in how many tenures, how many years they are ruling without checking whatever that is happening or whatever that will happen to others. These are the problems we are having. Then another thing is, thirdly, we have monitoring and evaluation program effectiveness. Ongoing research is essential for monitoring and evaluation, which we are trying to do. We have working group already, and then we know that we are identifying several things and things to be solved. They are lined up, and we are taking them one by one. Another one is identify skill gap. Identifying skill gap. Research can identify and specify. It can identify a specific digital skill that are lacking behind among different set of people. You can discover in secondary schools now. You will discover that some of them don't have laptop, they don't know how to operate it. But you know that 90% of students in secondary school know how to operate smartphone, especially in Nigeria, where I am. Now, we discover that some gaps now to fill is to train lecturers. Some lecturers, old method, analog lecturers, sorry to say this, because there are some analog lecturers who doesn't want to dabble into buying data or using internet. In fact, some of them are being forced to use WhatsApp. So, because they feel that you people are just trying to extort money from them. Then another aspect is promoting community engagement. Research can promote community engagement by engaging communities in the research process, help ensure that innovations are culturally relevant and widely accepted. Because there are some cultures that can restrict some set of gender from doing one thing or the other. But through research, you know how to dabble into certain things and then change the situation for those people there. Such research can facilitate a participatory approach where community members contribute their insight and experiences. Example, focus group discussion in community can lead to a better understanding to local attitude towards technology and informing more effective outreach. Can I answer this? So now, another one is research. Research can encourage collaboration among stakeholders, which my colleague have already mentioned. And we all know that research can identify and highlight the roles of various stakeholders, including government agencies, NGOs, private sectors, and the communities in promoting digital inclusion. This can foster partnership and collaborative efforts. Another one is research can support monitoring technological trends. Yes, research can do that because there are new inventions now, which we know that some of us have not reached that, have not gotten the technology yet. For example, myself, I'm not using iPhone 17, but we all know that it's in the market because the price is still high. I can't use it. But there are some new things in that iPhone 17 that are not in this one iPhone, my iPhone now, 13 or 8 or 10 or 6 you are using. So there are new inventions. And if you enter into the system, you will discover that even today, some companies like Intel, like HP, Sony, ASA, and all the rest of them, they are inventing things every day. So research can help for one to know the new inventions. Now, to analyze research gaps in digital inclusion. Number one research gaps in digital inclusion is this. One, local context and the hints. Local context and the hints. The gap is this. Much of the existing research is often generalized or focused on limited number of contexts, neglecting local nouns that can, or local hints that can significantly impact digital inclusion efforts. Would then need for research in that area. One, localizing studies are needed to understand how cultural, economic, and geographical factors influence individual access to and use of digital technologies in different regions in Africa. Number two, longitudinal impact studies. What does it mean? These are the research we normally carry out in the universities, longitudinal impact studies, where one can research on the impact of digital inclusion in education in universities, university education in UNIZIK, university education in Anambra State, university education in Nigeria, university education in federal universities, the same thing. The same thing. We always continue doing the same thing without deviating. Now, we can say that the locations are different, but the topics are the same. There is a lack of longitudinal studies that track the long-term impact of digital inclusion initiative on education, employment, and social integration, and so on. Then need for research. Research should be focused on measuring the sustained effects of digital literacy programs and technology access on key outcomes over time rather than short-time changes. These are the things we should look into. Another one is diversity and the inclusion within population. Diversity and inclusion within populations. Now, the gap. Many studies fail to adequately address the need and the experiences of marginalized groups, including women, persons with disability, and rural populations. Now, need for research. Focused research is required to explore the specific barriers faced by this group, ensuring that digital inclusion strategies are inclusive and equitable. Another one, interconnectedness with other social issues. Interconnectedness with other social issues. Now, the gap. Research often treats digital inclusion as a standalone issue. Standalone issue. In fact, it's like an egg that you cannot break. It's very far-fetched. We cannot even touch it. Digital inclusion, everyone is talking about it. But where is it? It's close to you. It's everywhere. So when you are writing on it, you write as if to say it's a big, something that is far-fetched. You cannot get to it. It's very, very far. No, it's close to us. Just that we need to understand it very well before we continue. So rather than as interconnectedness with broader social, economics, and political challenges, such as poverty, education quality, or health services. We don't do that. Now, need for research. There is a need for interdisciplinary research that examines how digital inclusion interacts with these areas, providing a holistic view of its implication for societal development. Then next one is assessment of digital literacy competency. Assessment of digital literacy competency, the gap. There is an insufficient focus on defining and measuring different levels of digital literacy or digital literacy competence required for various contexts and groups. Need for research. Development of standardized assessment tools and framework to evaluate digital skill is necessary for informing training programs and policy effectiveness. Yes. Now, evolving technologies and their impacts. Gaps. Rapid technology advancements, particularly in mobile technology, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things, that is IoT, are outpacing research efforts to assess their implications for digital inclusion. Yeah. Now, need for research. Ongoing research is needed to explore how emerging technologies can be leveraged to promote digital inclusion and what potential barriers they can introduce. Another one is effectiveness of the different delivery models. Number one, the gap. There is limited research on the comparative effectiveness of different models of delivering digital literacy training and resources, e.g. online versus face-to-face, community-led versus institutional. Need for research. Studies should evaluate which model are most effective in reaching various demographic, particularly in low income and rural areas. Like my mentor introduced MSC, most significant change, which involved the storytelling by the people that have experienced it. It involved demographic check, and it can easily penetrate people that are in the rural areas. So most significant change technique is best for the one I have already tried. I have used it, and in fact, I got good response from the MSC. And then one can also apply fourth theory, fourth square theory. Fourth square theory is also good because it also involves getting the local ones, making sure that everyone is involved in your research. Now, another aspect of
Yes.
the gaps.
Yeah. Time is running out. Yeah. You can help us. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Let me cut it off. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me cut it short. Impact of policy framework, data privacy and security concern, economic impact analysis, and so on. Now, action to enhance authentic representation in research on digital inclusion. Number one, engage with diverse stakeholders, principals, teachers, head teachers, administrators, PTA, community leaders, ministries, and so on. What are the actions? Actively involve a wide range of stakeholders, including marginalized and underserved communities in the research process. Another one, implementation. Conduct interview, focus group. In fact, use mixed method in your survey. It will help in gathering more effective answer. Another one is utilizing mixed method approach. Prioritize cultural sensitivity and relevance. Focus on intersectionalities, and then conduct longitudinal studies. At the same time, promote transparency in research findings. Collaborate with academics and non-academic partners. Address data privacy and ethical considerations. Encourage capacity building in communities, and so on. Then what are the steps to build digital inclusion operation? Number one, assessment of need and the context. Under assessment of needs and contents, we have conduct community needs assessment. We have analyze existing digital resources, stakeholder engagement and collaborations, establish partnerships, development of training programs, utilize diverse delivery methods, infrastructure development, improve internet access, provide access to devices, program implementation and marketing and communication, mentoring, monitoring and evaluation, continuous feedback loop, and then sustainability and scaling, plan for scalability, and then finally, the role of research in promoting digital inclusion. Yes. Number one, you should, in identifying barriers to access, research can uncover socio-economic infrastructures barriers that hinders access to digital technology. For instance, studies have shown that inadequate infrastructure, such as limited internet connectivity and the cost of devices, significantly impact access in rural areas. All these are problems, which Nkata et al. 2020 noted. Another one is informing policy and decision making, and so on. Overview of this digital initiative and all the rest of them, I don't know. This one, you people are asking me to stop. Should I continue?
We know time is really there. Time is gone, but the passion
Victor,
is
should I continue?
I understand your passion in this area is too much. Yeah, but it's
You people did not give me time, but no problem. So question time. Thank you for the time you have given me.
Yeah, we're
I
going to give it to
appreciate.
you. Thank you, thank you. I think I can go to Dr. Ben at least also state something on it as we go to the next session. I think a very big area. We're going to have a big session next year on this research area. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you. I think Dr. Maria Goretti has just said it all. Thing is that research is extremely important. And in Africa, it's unfortunate that the governments and the organizations don't think or don't invest in research. For example, if you go to the budget of the country, the amount of money given on research is extremely low. So you get that at the end of the day, we are not geared towards doing research that is going to better ourselves. So I think maybe what I would just end with is this. Kindly members, let's understand that research is very important and it's a vital tool in helping us to achieve actually digital inclusion in Africa. And the call to action is this, that the future of digital inclusion in Africa depends upon our collaborative and data-driven research that would ensure we have equitable access to ICT for all. So welcome and thank you so much. Back to Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. So this has been one of the most important sessions here that we need to put in place because research is very fundamental, and the gaps that I had that Dr. Mark and Dr. Margaret even highlighted here, they are powerful to be used as a tool to really accelerate Africa, because digital inclusion without research is never goes on. So thank you so much for this wonderful contribution. I know that this is going to be one of the areas that you're going to be focusing on so much in 2025. And I know that as long as you're still there, we're going to be coming again to inquire more knowledge, more understanding. And then also, if you have your presentations, kindly you can share with us. You can share with me so that as I do, we're going to be doing the final reporting for this conference. We can attach them to the attendees to get a way to access them and work on them. So thank you so much. I know that we're going to still come back and again to make sure that we're able to move together and achieve this area. So I just want to welcome Faidat. I don't know if you are there kindly as we go to the last, before we go to the last panel. Faidat, hi.
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we just want to go to the next session. I think it's also going to give us an overview of the entire work in terms of digital inclusion, particularly on the broadband and digital infrastructure. That as we look at the digital skills, the introductory session we had, the presentations we had, and all these areas, we can connect it to the presentation that is going to be given here. Then we are going to be closing with a panel discussion of the Eastern Africa integration and digital inclusion. So I want us to be here. I want us to be here together as we work towards this. So yeah, so let me welcome Faidat. Please welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're very audible. You're very audible, please.
Victor, okay, you can. Okay, great. So let me just share my screen quickly.
Okay, please do. Okay, thank you so much, Doc. I've seen that. Thank you. We're going to work. We can see your screen, Faidat. Try again.
Okay. Okay, how about now?
Very clear, very clear, very clear.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you for the introduction. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are getting you clearly. In fact, you are just.
Sorry, I had a bit of network interruption. Okay, so thank you for the presentation and thank you everyone for being here today. So this is going to be a presentation about broadband and connectivity in Africa. For a lot of us, the internet is a constant part of our daily lives. And even though it's not perfect, we have access to it and use it constantly. But there are millions of people across Africa who have no access to the internet. And what this means is that as the world continues to develop and advancements in technology continue to move forward, they are constantly left behind. And we cannot have digital inclusion if we don't have equitable digital infrastructure. So just a little bit about me. I'm very passionate about digital inclusion and financial inclusion, particularly in exploring the role of policy and emerging technologies in solving these issues. And my research work focuses primarily on leveraging policy and emerging technologies in addressing the inclusion gaps. So I moved back to Nigeria in 2022 after several years spent in countries and outside of Africa. And one thing that immediately stood out to me was how difficult it was to compete. So I was working with remote teams from different parts of the world, and I always had to apologize for bad network and network interruptions. And as someone living in urban Lagos, I knew I was in a much more privileged position than millions of people across Africa. And this is why this conversation is important. Broadband connectivity is foundational to achieving if you have around digital equity or inclusion, get nowhere without broadband connectivity. And it's not just about having internet access, it's about creating opportunities for education.
Your screen seems not to be the next slide. I don't know if you didn't see the next slide.
Oh, it's not moving?
Yeah, it's not moving.
How about now?
It's now visible. It's now visible.
It's visible now.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, and I was explaining why this conversation is important, right? So broadband connectivity is foundational to achieving digital equity. So any policy work or conversations we have around digital equity and inclusion doesn't go anywhere if we don't properly discuss broadband connectivity and find solutions to that. And so connectivity isn't just about having internet access. It's about creating opportunities in education, in healthcare, and for economic growth. But yet millions of people still remain disconnected. So in Africa, just about 43% of the population have internet access compared to the global average of 67.5%. So that means that more than half of the population in Africa still has no access to the internet. And this directly ties in with economic growth and development. So a study by the ITU in 2019 shows that with just the 10% broadband penetration, we can actually have a 2.5% GDP growth across Africa. So let's talk about where we are currently. So 43% of Africa's population have access to the internet versus the global average of 67%, which I just referred to. And the thing is, this 43% doesn't even take into account internet quality. We can all attest to the fact that just because you have access to the internet, doesn't mean that that's enough, right? If it takes you several minutes to load a web browser, you can never have phone calls on WhatsApp. And this number varies across regions as well. So we have the highest penetration rates in South Africa, in Southern Africa, with an average of 68%, and the lowest in Central Africa with an average of 25%. And this lack of access is also disproportionate between rural areas and urban areas. So we have just 23% of rural Africa connected versus 57% in urban areas. And what's so concerning about this is, as all of us are, we're on calls like this, like, generative AI, there are people, millions of them in rural Africa who might have never access to it and have been are further left behind. Internet than men. And the three primary reasons internet, they also have a lower digital literacy rate. And this is made worse by cultural norms. So there are some countries, according to the survey by GSM in 2023, who believe that access to the internet is not as important for women. And interestingly, the Alliance for Affordable Internet estimates that over the last decade, low and middle income countries have lost a total of $1 trillion in GDP to the gender gap in internet use. And closing this gap in internet use can actually add like a further $524 billion in economic activity. And broadband policy till date have failed to respond to this gender gap. So there needs to be a focus on supporting women at the organizational and policy level and better understanding the barriers they face in mobile ownership and internet use. So there are challenges to internet infrastructure, internet connectivity in Africa. Can you still see my screen?
You can see your screen clearly. Please just go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So we've talked about the
We can see.
disparities. Thank you. So now let's talk about the challenges, some of the challenges that we're facing. So infrastructure is a big challenge. If you remember, there was a recent break in undersea cables in the Red Sea. I think it was earlier this year or last year, and that affected internet connection across African countries. And this shows exactly how vulnerable we are to economic disruption due to this underdeveloped infrastructure. And the massive internet interruptions halted some industries entirely, affecting businesses and economic growth. So that really shows how vulnerable we can be if we don't have our own infrastructure for internet connectivity. Although there's been some progress, so in the last decade, the kilometers of fiber optic cables deployed across the entire continent has more than tripled, and mobile infrastructure access has also expanded. So the ITU statistics for 2021 indicate that mobile broadband coverage via 3G and 4G networks was available to 82% of the population in Africa, and that's 49% for 4G and 33% for 3G. And 14 African countries have developed 5G technology. So the 82% is referring to the percentage that have access to the internet, not everyone. So 14 African countries have also developed 5G technologies. Satellites are also being increasingly used. So Starlink announced it had received regulatory approvals to start operations in 2 African countries, Nigeria and Mozambique. But there are huge affordability issues. With a monthly residential subscription for Starlink is almost like $100, which is impossible for most people, right? And also while these tech giants bring connectivity, we have to be careful not to be overly dependent on them, because then that poses a risk for net neutrality where, they're in control of all of these things, and one single risk from them, then it affects everyone's internet, right? On average, Africans pay. So another big issue that we also have is affordability. So Africans pay 6.5% of their monthly income for just 2 gig of mobile data, which is far above the global affordability target of 2%. And only 3 African countries, Mauritius, Gabon, and Seychelles, meet the UN Broadband Commission target of 1 gig costing no more than 2% of monthly income. For everywhere else, it's about 6.5% of monthly income. And also in lower income countries, people have to work about 4 times higher to be able to achieve the cheapest internet access compared to people in wealthier countries. And they also have about 3 times slower internet connection in lower income countries. And what this disparity really shows is a pressing need for policy interventions and infrastructure investments to make internet access more affordable and inclusive to everyone in the continent. So another huge challenge is the lack of digital literacy, and this prevents meaningful use of the internet. So just some other statistics. In 2022, African countries scored between 1.8 and 5 on the digital skills gap index, which is the global average is about 6, but for Africa it was between 1.8 and 5. So in GSME's research in 2023, it also showed that difficulties with reading and writing are some of the most common reasons that people cite for not having a mobile phone or having access to mobile internet. And the female respondents had more of these issues with digital literacy compared to the men. So this is some of the what is being done to deal with broadband and connectivity issues on the continent. So approximately 30
Your
African
screen, I don't know.
countries.
Your screen seems not to be moving. Okay, now we can get it. Please go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's the internet. It's always ironic every time when you're talking about internet issues and then you have internet issues. So approximately 30 African countries have developed national broadband plans or equivalent digital strategies that are aimed at expanding internet infrastructure and improving connectivity. So while progress has been made, there's still challenges in those broadband plans in terms of implementation, funding, and ensuring that they effectively address the unique needs of both the urban and rural populations. So several African governments, including Ghana, Nigeria, and Rwanda, have also implemented initiatives to subsidize rural connectivity and collaborate with private providers to extend infrastructure. And in addition to that, there are several international organizations that have projects and strategies they are implementing to help resolve this issue. The African Union has a digital transformation strategy for 2020 to 2030 that has set goals on driving universal internet access by 2030. There's organizations like the Alliance for Affordable Internet that advocate for affordable data pricing and regulatory reforms. And there are also projects by private organizations like Google's Equano Cable and Meta to Africa Cable that's helping to improve submarine infrastructure to lower costs across the continent and enhance speed. So apart from that, there are solutions that are more innovative and are emerging. So there are low Earth orbit satellites that are positioned closer to Earth than traditional satellites. They often have reduced latency and can provide high-speed internet to remote and underserved regions. There's also, I referred to this earlier, companies like Starlink that have developed this low Earth orbit satellite services to help bridge the connectivity gap. And interestingly, there are also AI solutions being proposed to monitor network components in real time. So they're thinking about using AI to predict potential failures in internet access and then facilitate timely maintenance. And that proactive strategy can minimize downtime and enhance service reliability. And also, there are organizations that are building community networks. Organizations such as the Internet Society Support Community Network, such as the Internet Society, is supporting community network projects in Africa to promote locally owned and operated networks that empower communities to build and manage their own connectivity solutions. So these community networks are tailored to address the specific needs of that community, and then provide them with technical assistance and advocacy to help them establish sustainability of the local networks. So achieving comprehensive internet connectivity in Africa has great economic and social impact. Can you see my screen? Okay, achieving comprehensive internet and broadband connectivity in Africa has great economic and social impact. So while Africa lags behind the global average in internet connectivity, the region has actually been the fastest growing continent for internet penetration, largely driven by access to mobile broadband, which is growing in Africa more than anywhere else. And so let's walk through that journey really quickly. So in 2020, Africa's internet economy had contributed approximately $115 billion, accounting for 4.5% of the continent's GDP. And by 2023, internet penetration in Africa reached 43%, reflecting a 30% point increase in just over a decade. By 2025, Africa's internet economy is projected to contribute $180 billion to GDP, which is about 5.2% of the GDP in the continent. And the AU's digital transformation strategy is aiming for universal broadband across the continent by 2030. And by 2050, the projection is that Africa's internet economy could reach $712 billion and significantly transforming the economic and social landscapes. This is why it is so important for us to continue to have this type of conversations and also, advocate for important policy and infrastructure changes on the continent. So I'll just leave you with this. So connectivity is a path to opportunity. It's not just about having internet access. It's a bridge to opportunity. It's about fueling the digital economy. It's about creating jobs in sectors like tech, e-commerce, and digital services. The internet economy is projected to create 44 million jobs by 2025. So access to the internet enables small businesses and entrepreneurs potentially to reach global market. It allows people from wherever they are to be able to, join in on conversations like this, to be able to gain skills, get education, information, and continue to grow themselves. So, and when we don't give people access to this community, to these opportunities, we're leaving communities behind that run the risk of not advancing along with the rest of the world. So at a policy level, governments and organizations have to ensure that connectivity is reaching the underserved areas and bridging not just the digital divide, but also the opportunity divide. Thank you for listening, and we can connect on LinkedIn.
Wow, that is amazing. Thank you so much for that. That has been a very explosive kind of presentation, and it really touches so many critical areas of digital infrastructure. I hope we know that we have the submarine cables, the fiber optic cables, and the internet gap, and the key statistics that really explains how the digital infrastructure state is in Africa. So thank you so much for taking your time to present to us this amazing presentation.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Victor.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, and I know that we are learning and getting to know how best we can be part of making this difference, however small or big it can be. So thank you so much for taking your time to give. I know you are going to share with us your presentation slides that those who might to review and get to know more about it can get to understand it better. I know it's almost 6 p.m. It was the time we were to stop our call, but due to the timelines and the conversation that we're having today, it is very, very important, very, very rejuvenating, and very, very powerful. And I believe that if you have any comment, any question, we are going to be opening up platform again to allow you to get. So I just want us to go to the last session, which is going to take around 20 minutes to 25 minutes. It's going to be more of an interview session, a panel-based discussion to bring Eastern Africa integration. So I know that this is going to be very important because it is still going to be tomorrow where we're going to be doing the West Africa session, and we're going to be doing the Southern Africa session. We're going to be looking at different parts of the continent. So I want us to have the last session, that is the integration, digital insurance, the regional integration of Eastern Africa. And I think I had to go three product speakers, one of them being the host. That is Isaac Balwana. I don't know if you are still there in the call. Yeah, you're there. Can see you. I was also to have Mr. Peter Njoroge Gatua, who's a tech lawyer, also here. And I had Mr. Dawit Wami Negera from Ethiopia. So we have three of them, and I want to just give them a chance to take over the session. In 25 minutes, that is by 16:25, they should be complete with the call. And yeah, so thank you so much, and I give it, Isaac, please take it over.
Thank you, Victor. It was a wonderful beginning, and we are hoping to have a wonderful ending. I'm Isaac Balwana from Uganda. I'm a digital inclusion practitioner and I'm working with Africa Digital Inclusion Alliance. Um, Actually, we are going to be discussing about the topic of the regional integration of East Africa in relation to digital inclusion. It's quite interesting, you know, digital inclusion and like the regional integration of East Africa. So I shall first give a guest, then we shall call on our guest speakers to take us more to give us more knowledge of what digital inclusion is. Um, to start with, when I was going through the chat, some people were discussing about what is this conclusion, but it's about the equitable access to ICT tools as well as the skill sets that are enabling us to have like the overall beneficial from the digital skills and skill sets. Uh, the important questions we are going to be like covering today is, you know, what is the rate of the regional integration through economic and social activities in line with the digital inclusion. At this time, I will call on Mr. Peter, our tech lawyer from Kenya, to first give us a gist. We shall be time frame because there are a lot of some questions we are supposed to address. So we shall try to be time conscious so that we try to catch up with all the questions that we have to capture. Thank you. Mr. Peter, you're welcome. Yes, Peter. All right. I think we shall give it to David to first take on that question as we wait for Mr. Peter to come and add more. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Uh, I tried to introduce me earlier. Now I'm going to summarize digital inclusion in Africa officers have numerous advantages, significantly contributing to the continent's, that means African continent, social, economic, and also technological development. Regarding to economic growth and job creation, it boosts SMEs, small and micro enterprises. Employability opportunity may be increased. Again, this digital inclusion maybe invites foreign investors or investments. When I come to educational and skill development, access to online learning is just like that of e-learning, so on. So it have some advantages, improving healthcare services, financial inclusion, and enhancing governmental and public services. So it must be strengthened in a well manner. Okay. Hello.
Sure. You can go on. You can go on, David.
Okay. Actually, from my experience, I am engaging in a lot of community service as well as serving as lecturer and researcher, and also department head for mechanical engineering, and also in the community. I'm the General Assembly for Capital Use Saving and Credit Corporation, as well as I am the founder and executive director at the Human for Human Volunteer Association at regional level. On those listed organization and also association, I'm using digital things. So currently, I am drafting proposal for use to bring and expand digitalization and globalization across East Africa as well as in the continental level. I'm proposing to construct digital library. So if possible, assist us financially and also by giving some ideas. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Let's listen from Mr. Peter. Thank you. Hello, Peter. All right. It seems that Peter is off, but Mr. Dawit and the members in the session, one of the pillars of East African integration is to ensure that we have common markets. And when we haven't talked about digital inclusion in relationship with integration, we are seeing how basically Africa, most of the eastern region, will happen to benefit from the region integration. Remember, there are a lot of like different countries that have joined the community, and the question that will go to you, Mr. Dawit, is how basically are we going to ensure that the youth, popping youth on the social media platforms, really use the e-commerce promptly to ensure that they increase their earning as well as increase the gains from the economic integration. Thank you. To you, David.
Hello.
Uh,
Okay, I don't understand your question, sir.
All right. The question is like there is an increasing number of youth that are popping up to social media, about 27%. How basically are we going to utilize the regional integration to ensure that they earn from the integration? This is through the e-commerce platforms, basing on the third pillar of East African integration, that is the creation of common markets. How are we going to ensure that these youth gain directly from integration through the e-commerce platform? Thank you.
Okay, well, as I mentioned earlier, this digital inclusion uses for economic growth and creating job opportunities. That means by using those digital like digital marketing, we can share experiences to boost our economy and also employment opportunity may be gained through this digital inclusion. For example, remote jobs. I have some experiences by working remote jobs. This may be one of the advantage we may gain from this digital inclusion. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Peter, has Peter joined the call? Mr. Peter? Peter, are
Yes,
you there?
good evening. I'm here.
Thank you for joining. I think we shall first go a little bit back, and then you shall have. I don't know whether you had the previous question or I first repeat for you. Thank you.
Kindly repeat it for me.
Yeah,
I
the
was in the
previous
room.
question was in there is a large number of youth and adults, about 27% of the population in the East Africa who are using internet. How are we going to ensure that they digitally benefit from the e-marketing platforms in relation to the third pillar of East African integration, that is creation of common markets? Thank you.
So if I've gotten you well, you're saying we have a number of youths, approximately 25% using the internet, and how we can they can leverage on the pillar of the East African community to make use of the e-marketing platform.
Sure.
That's it. If I've understood you well, is that the question?
Sure.
Okay, my contribution will be one basically is involving the startups, especially the ones that are doing well in Africa and say in these East African countries, so that they can be able to teach and show these young people how they can leverage the use of platforms, say social media platforms like even TikTok. TikTok has become very famous, and also say Instagram, basically to sell products or to sell their talents or to market themselves. So basically is creating awareness, and besides creating awareness, it's also for the government to chip in by being deliberate in implementing policies that will make aspects such as data to be cheaper, and also say provision of Wi-Fi hotspot or Wi-Fi hubs, and also ensuring, being also deliberate in creating digital literacy for the young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. The next question that we have to address today is actually East Africa is composed of different like culture and different languages that both contribute to social and economic development. In relation to digital inclusion, how basically can we ensure that no one is left behind irrespective of the culture? Because when you happen to talk about the languages, yes, there are a lot of evolving technologies and people are embracing them. However, most of them seem to be left out or seem they don't know what to use those devices for. Which advice could you have for them? I'll start with you, Peter, then I'll go to Dawit. Thank you.
Okay, on that aspect, this I'll advise or I recommend, especially engaging the communities at the grassroots, because the communities will come in handy when you engage communities and also the stakeholders, the people who are involved in developing these technologies, so that technologies or digital information and devices can be interpreted, for lack of a better word, in languages that the normal East African person from the deep down to the can be able to relate to. So I'll say there needs to be multi stakeholder approach, where they engage local communities and they are really deliberate in ensuring that if it's tech tools, they are also translated in languages that people can understand, can also embrace the use of artificial intelligence in that aspect. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Dawit, I'll give you 2 minutes as we intercede to the next question.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, this question is fundamental questions. As we know, there are different cultures and also languages available in our continent, as well as in East Africa. So to negotiate those gaps, we may use a translator. For example, from my experience, I got a lot of messages which is written in different language on my personal email. So I use some translator on Google. Besides this, if we use some languages, international languages, that means English is more recommended. The other thing is we can translate, we can transfer our message through body language, as well as pictures, photos, schematic representation, etc. So using those things, we can translate or transfer our message well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David. This will go to the whole of the attendees in this conference. The question is, it's just something trivial about. Do you know? Yes, sometimes we talk about, we blame the government, we blame other civil society organizations, or we blame other people for not building the digital inclusion. But the question I want you to reflect on too in this session and after, what are you doing as a person to ensure that you streamline the digital inclusion? Then the second question is, are you aware of any program or any project about digital inclusion that's running in your country, your region, your community, as well as the Africa integration or at East African region at large? Think about it. Think about it. To our panelists, the next question would be, one of the programs that East African integration has in ensuring that there is digital equity is the program that was commissioned in 2022 July by the World Bank and East African Community, where they were preparing the East Africa Regional Digital Integration Project. And the first one was to start from Somalia and Ethiopia. That I think David know about that. The question on this would be, how how is how are the people or the youth or the people, social media users or internet users in your respective countries, how are they prepared for this? How much knowledge do they have about these programs, and how basically can they, if they don't know, how basically can they tap into these programs? I'll start with Dawit, then I continue with Peter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Actually, currently, the university I have been working starts e-learning for students as well as instructors. So this may be increase the skill of students regarding the digitalization. When I come to blaming the government and also community, I don't know. Actually, in our country, in my country, it is going to expand, just like this blaming government. I don't know. We are reporting to the concerned body. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Peter?
Okay, thank you very much. To answer your question, I think the East African community has been very instrumental in coming up with policies to champion for digital inclusion. One of them is the Universal Access and Services Fund, which was established to ensure that ICT services are available and affordable, especially in rural and marginalized areas. I'm trying to think if such a policy is implemented to the latter, very many young people will benefit by basically making sure, establishing ICT hubs, as I said earlier. And then we also have the digital inclusion strategy, which basically aims to promote the use of ICTs across the region. And it focuses on infrastructure development, affordability, and the provision of useful services to all sections of the population. So basically here, I'll talk about now broadband. Currently in East Africa, I think broadband network is quite low. So the government together with, say, the private sector has to be really instrumental in helping this so that the young people can benefit from this. And lastly is what we've talked about the World Bank's inclusive digitalization in East Africa, which aims to ensure that at least 180 million people across Eastern and Southern Africa are getting affordable internet, issues to do with data costs, that they are affordable, and digital literacy. So basically, I'll say it has to come majorly from the government being deliberate in coming up with policies and also implementing these policies by making sure that, like for instance, for Kenya, for the Ajira digital program, that is really empowering young people with digital skills. So such initiatives and basically being deliberate with data costs and lowering data costs and also expanding broadband connection. So now for the young people now, once the young people are aware and they are digitally aware, they can be able to leverage on these opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Actually, you've answered part of the next question that's going to be concluding about the what are the valuable key opportunities, the challenges, as well as your recommendation. I'll take about two from each, then we close the panel. Thank you. David, please share with us some of the valuable opportunities, the challenges, and recommendation too. Thank you.
No. Okay. The challenges may we are facing in our community is the youth don't have the knowledge to regarding digitalization, and I don't know the other I don't have.
Okay, for me, I think the major challenges is one, like we have shared before, is infrastructure gaps, especially for communities in the rural areas where there is an inadequate infrastructure. For that, I'll recommend investing in expanding broadband infrastructure and reducing data costs. There's also the issue of high costs of devices. Let me say just digital devices, phones, which of course creates a barrier to digital inclusion. For these, I recommend subsidizing devices and data plans for low-income households. And then there's also the issue of digital skills shortage, which is a significant challenge. For these, I recommend implementing comprehensive digital literacy programs targeting all age groups. And then lastly, there's also the challenge of cybersecurity and data protection. So there are risks related to cybersecurity and data protection. Good example would be, say, hacking or misuse of personal data. For these, I recommend, I know actually most of the East African countries do have laws and regulations around cybersecurity and data protection, but basically I'll recommend robust frameworks and implementation of these frameworks to the latter. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. To our dear listeners and the host of the conference, that is Victor, thank you so much for this wonderful evening. It was so inspiring and learning from each other. I'll end with a quote from Scott, who defined the digital economy as the age of networked intelligence, which is not about the networking of technology and smart machines, but about the networking of humans through technology that combines intelligence, knowledge, and creativity. As this will all create the breakthrough of economic prosperity in Africa, wealth creation, as well as social development. Thank you. Back to you, Victor.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much, Isaac. Thank you so much, Peter, and thank you so much, Mr. Dawit. I think this is one of the most sweetest way to close the session today. There's been over 3 hours of continuous conversation, discussing, sharing, and having a very full way of looking digital inclusion from every angle possible. So I have to really appreciate every person. First, I don't want to end now. I just want to take an opportunity to ask anybody with a comment as an attendee. Do you have any comment, any question, anything that is important as we close the session? Because it is like we have 6 minutes to go. as we close this session. So I'm going to open it up to the participants. I know the very strong thing I'm going to give an opportunity to talk and share any important area. Please, it's now open for all the attendees to make any comment about this conference day one session as we look forward to tomorrow. You can raise up your hand and I'll give you an opportunity to talk kindly. Anyone with any comment? Any question? Any addition? Okay. Yeah, so as you can see, tomorrow we have another session from same time. And we are going to have different sessions also altogether from regional integration of digital inclusion in West Africa. We are going to be having a session on policies and state of Africa also. We're also going to be having different conversations that are going to be cutting from the southern part of Africa, West Africa, device access. People with disability session is also going to be coming up tomorrow. We're going to be having presentation of the policy issues around Africa in terms of digital inclusion. So I just wanted to get to hear from you guys on what has been really starting out for you in this day today, as we're looking forward to tomorrow. And I can see some good comments from Christine there saying it's a very good presentation. Thank you a lot for the presentation. We have from Gulu, Uganda. Mr. Dawit is drafting a project on digital library in Asasa Town. I think you're going to be communicating more on these. And there's a lot of really good topics, good conversation that's been really starting out today. And I see Wise is saying I've learned a lot today. Thank you so much. Amazing. Happy to see this. I'm grateful for the new introduction of digital inclusion issues. Thank you so much, Annette. And Jemima, thank you. I've learned a lot. Thank you, Jemima. Very good presentation. Thank you so much, Christine. And this one is interesting. And I'm so happy. Thank you, Veronica, and everybody. I'm truly honored so much to hear that at least we are learning and growing in this journey towards seeing that we are going to impact Africa, impact our communities, our families, and our future generation to embrace digital inclusion. So without much, I think we just connect tomorrow. Make sure you filled out the attendance list for today. And as we look forward to tomorrow, our presentation documents will be shared after day 2, which means after tomorrow, we're going to be sharing all the resources, all the presentations that have been there. Thank you so much, Ishay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Court. Thank you all our speakers who are still available with us here. Thank you so much, Dr. Margoretti. Thank you, Jonah. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Leti. Mona Lisa, thank you so much for hosting our session today. Mr. Patrick, thank you. Mr. Peter Njoroge, thank you. Samson, thank you. Sishay, thank you. And thank you everyone who took their time over 3 hours to be part of this conference. As we look forward to tomorrow, let's come tomorrow with a new energy. Energy not just to be available, but energy to learn and grow. Yeah. So otherwise, thank you so much, Make Peace, for that. And let's connect tomorrow. If there's no other comment or any question, let's connect tomorrow. All of us let's make sure we be here tomorrow. It's going to be a very, very important session as much as it was important today. And the attendance was shared in the chat box. I don't know, somebody's still asking about the attendance. Yeah. It was shared there. Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick, for sharing that again. Yeah. So channels just shared here. Please take time to look at it. And again, thank you so much, Mr. Patrick, for sharing the attendance sheet again. So without much ado, we could have played our African Union anthem, but unfortunately, we are not going to do that this evening. So if anybody can pray for us, prayer is very critical. It's going to be a very good way of closing this one because we started with the anthem, but now we can't get that. So Jemima, I don't know if you are there, you can lead us into a very powerful prayer this evening. A short prayer. Jemima, are you there, Jemima? Grace? Okay, it seems you people are only in digital inclusion. You don't want anything to do with prayer. It's okay. I go ahead, Isaac. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello, it's raining on my side.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. Please go. Go ahead.
Okay, let us believe and pray. For the Lord God in heaven, we thank you for this program you scheduled for us. It's been a success, Lord. Let all glory and honor be unto you, Lord. Let what we have learned today be of purpose into our lives and to those who need us. This evening, Lord, I pray for tomorrow's event. May you go before us, give us wisdom, speak to us, speak Jehovah, so that we can learn and impact our societies. Thank you for making us meet new friends and learning a lot today. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Victor. Thank you all.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Jemima. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, bye-bye, everybody. And let's see us tomorrow at the same time. Tomorrow, same time. Bye-bye. 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 You can do an emoji. You can say bye with your voice as you go. Yeah, it's important.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
So much, Isha. I can see you there. I can see you now there. Wonderful. 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 Thank you so much.
Isaac. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Isaac, thank you so much. Wow.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you. Wow.
It's been quite a learning. Thank you. We get in touch tomorrow when we have another session.
A very strategic
Bye.
place you are. Thank you. That's a very strategic place.
This was exceptional, right?
It was more than exceptional. Wonderful.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, let's meet tomorrow at the same time. Bye. Thank you.